It's a beautiful morning, Nigeria, and welcome to Daybreak, reaching you live from the nation's capital in Abuja. I am Ayuba Ilya. Of course, I'm not alone, as always.
Good morning, and thanks for joining us. My name is Stella Iyaji.
Yeah, today it's an interesting one. Sadly, though, a lot is really happening when it comes to issues of insecurity. Now, let's take a look at the headlines and have a sense of what's happening. District head shot dead inside Taraba Mosque.
Police raid illicit drug factory in Bayelsa, nab 4 suspects.
Disquiet as Lagos senator declares interest in same seat in Ogun.
Now the news in details. Government have attacked a mosque at May Samari town in Sardauna local government area of Taraba State, killing Alhaji Abdulkadir May Samari, a district head. According to witnesses, May Samari was killed during congregational prayers on Monday night. The gunmen reportedly opened fire. Immediately they stormed the mosque. Residents were said to have confronted the gunmen, forcing them to flee into a mountain close to the town. A resident, Musa Sali, told Daily Trust that some courageous persons confronted the gunmen who forcefully fled.
Police in Bayelsa State have raided a criminal hideout used in producing and selling illicit drugs at the Baranturu community, a suburb of Yenagua, and arrested 4 suspected dealers. The police spokesman in the state, SP Asinim Butswat, said in a statement on Tuesday that the anti-kidnapping unit of the command acted on a tip-off and raided the hideout. He revealed that during the operation, police operatives recovered a large quantity of crystal meth, substances suspected to be Indian hemp and other illicit drugs. He said, based on a tip-off that criminals are producing and selling illicit drugs at Baranturu community, a suburb of Yenagua, operatives of the anti-kidnapping unit Bayelsa State Command on 11th of April 2022 at about 0300 hours raided the hideout and recovered a large quantity of crystal meth, substances suspected to be Indian hemp and other illicit drugs.
There is disquiet in Ogun State over Lagos West Senator Solomon Olamilekan Adeolu's declaration to run for Ogun West senatorial seat, currently being occupied by Senator Tolu Adebi, also of the APC. Adeola, popularly known as Yayi, had last week announced switching of his political base from Lagos to Ogun State, where he will be contesting for Ogun West Senate seat in 2023. By 2023, the accountant-turned-politician will have spent 20 years in Lagos politics, where he has variously served as member of the House of Assembly, House of Representatives, and the Senate. According to his media advisor, Kaide Odunaro, the senator had relocated his All Progressive Congress membership and INEC registration to Ogun State as part of moves to contest the Ogun West Senate seat.
And that wraps it up for the news highlight. Now, let's take a look at some more reports now. A special court known as Small Claims Court has been established by the Nasarawa State Judiciary to entertain matters on settlement of commercial dispute not exceeding 5 million naira. Chief Judge of the state, Aisha Bashir, made this known while signing the document titled Practice Direction on Small Claims 2022. Correspondent Abubakar Abdullahi sent us this report.
The establishment of the Small Claims Court by the Nasarawa State Judiciary is to enhance speedy resolution of commercial disputes and debt recovery, and is expected to be handled by the State Customary Court. Speaking shortly after signing of the document titled Practice Direction of Small Claims 2022, Justice Aisha Bashir said introducing Small Claims Court in the state judiciary is in line with her commitment to administering justice to the common man in the society.
This issue of Small Claims Court has been something that been agitating my mind ever since I was just a judge, because we have petitions, complaints from farmers and not solitary members of society who are being shortchanged by the police, and now he said the defense corps. I agree with him. So when the issue of the Small Claims Court came to our attention, we felt it very, very necessary to bring sanity to the system as it is.
Justice Aisha, who described the signing of the small claims court in the judicial process as a welcome development, said it will ease the workload of High Court judges in the state. While commending the state government for providing necessary logistics for the smooth running of the judicial system, the Chief Judge equally tasked relevant stakeholders to support the initiative, which is geared towards bringing justice to the doorstep of the common man. In a remark, Vice President, Business Reform, Nasarawa State Investment and Development Agency, Stella Ajige, noted that Nasarawa State is the first state in the North Central to establish small claims court and explained that the initiative will advance and provide enabling environment for business activities to thrive.
It is no doubt that this small claims court would advance the business environment and create an enabling environment for businesses to thrive within the state.
Also speaking, Chairman, Nigeria Bar Association, Lafia Branch, Mustafa Sadiq, who lauded the judiciary for establishing the special court, said members of the association will support the initiative for justice to prevail.
This particular bold step is to go a long way in bringing support to people, particularly the petty traders around, the peasant farmers as well, because some, they look onto this paramilitary as if they are semi-court. But we've been telling them they are not court.
Abubakar Abdullahi, Trust TV News, Lafia.
Well, an interesting report, really. After all, we need our justice system to be more speedy. I mean, to be more faster than it is right now, isn't it?
Yeah, especially with the fact that a lot of cases pile up in courts for so long. Now that this has been set up, and it's interesting because that Nasarawa is the first to do it. I think it's something many states should emulate. It's going to expedite the judicial process. Now, if this court is going to look at claims that are lower than 5 million, yes. And in a small state like in most of our states, I mean, most cases are actually below many of such cases. Yes. So if they have those, so instead of congesting the courts with all these small matters, they take it to this particular court.
And I'm wondering why it's been so difficult to establish that at the federal level. I mean, we've been singing about, you know, courts, special courts to deal with corruption cases and all of that. And it looks like we've been talking forever, and we've not seen it materialize.
And it's because of this lack of these small courts that then the prisons are congested, because most cases that ought to be trashed out in a very short period gets to take a long time. And then you see people, sometimes you go to the prison or you see reports of when people, dignitaries visit the prisons, you hear that somebody has been there for 1 year, his matter has not been mentioned in court, you know.
And this is what, I mean, this delay in the justice system is what is responsible for people taking laws into their hands, you know, deciding to opt for self-help.
I'm not getting justice,
yeah,
so what's the quick way out?
To opt for self-help. Like there's this social media video that went viral one time of someone that, you know, sort of, should I say kidnapped or abducted someone that he's owing, you know.
That was owing him or he was owing?
I mean, that was owing him, rather. Now, he abducted the person and tied him up in his somewhere in some uncompleted building somewhere. You know, tied him up, really, and that he's not going to be released until he produces.
But how is he going to produce the money when he's tied up somewhere? But like, but that boils down to the fact that,
yes, you know, but just to show you, you know, the extent that the person is willing to go.
Yes,
you know,
just to, because he feels that, okay, when I take this matter to court, maybe for instance the money is about 150,000, and then you now say, okay, how long am I going to wait in court to get my money? Although that is not the best way out. So it's important. I think it would be good for a lot of states to emulate this and take it up. Very, very correct. All right. Now, well, we are seeing a lot of things, really, politically speaking. There's this story about the senator that is now contesting, declaring for the same seat, you know, that he's currently sitting on. And I'm wondering how that is going to pan out, really. I think that as the days go by, more information will come out, because I would like to understand why he has been in Lagos for 20 years. He has, from Lagos, been in the State House of Assembly, House of Representatives, and the Senate. So what is the reason for Ogun State? Or is it possible that he's now facing very strong contention from for that seat, in Lagos, and then he now feels that, okay, let me move to Ogun State to get it. And I think it's something experts need to talk about. Is that...
And we keep seeing new things coming.
Yes, yes.
And even things that the electoral law,
I find it a bit, I don't know,
doesn't seem to capture,
yes,
and all of that.
yes.
So we would see how all of that, panned out. I don't know how that is possible, but like I said, we'll continue to follow up.
We're in the season where the unusual becomes usual. Yeah. So we should just brace up for anything.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And I hope that it's not going to be abused.
I hope so too.
Well, now let's take a look at events that made history on this day, today being the 13th of April in our world. Please take a look.
Sunana Ali Isa mai gari daga nan Mina, Niger State, can saka local government. Wannan kasuwanci na ne, ka gane, wanda na tashi na bude da na ga ina yi. This is our father. An haife ni 1976, September 15, da sanar Alhamis. Ba zan manta da wannan ba. Na fara primary school, na yi primary 3. Allah ta'ala ka san karatu sai da sponsoring. Wanda da ke ɗaukar nauyi na dan na tashi a hannun kakana a gurin shi da ya karatu da ya abun nan sai na dawo gurin babana. Na dawo 1989, a gane, to sai muka ci gaba da wannan kasuwanci. Ina karami lokacin ni kadai ne ma karami a nan. Gaskiya Allah ta'ala bai bani ikon na yi karfi a makaranta ba, makarantar boko, amma na fi karfi a bangaren arabi. Wallahi alhamdulillah yara na ina kula da su makaranta, na ma kai su musamman private school na kai su. Saboda ina so in samu good education, because na ga government school ya lalace. Ni ma kaga ba zan bari abin na baya ba. In Allah ta'ala ya sa suka tashi, amma ba zan bari su gobe sai sun gama karatu. In Allah da in dare samu nake so sai kowa gama karatu ya kama kwali sai ya ce to sana'a duk wanda ya ga yana iya duba. In ya ce ga wanda ta mai sai ya ce bismillah, zan ba shi taimako. Ina da mata guda 2, ina da yara guda 6. Alhamdulillah, kuma ta wannan sana'an ne nan Allah ta'ala rufa min asiri nayi, ni ne mai kaina auren fari. Babana ya biya min sadaki, ya yi min duk abin da ake na lehi, ka gane? Amma ni ne ɗauki ɗawainiyar kaina, duk wani abu da ake na al'ada da sauransu ni ne ma kaina. Babana kuma ya yi abu da shi ma lokacin da abun nan ya yi mamaki, ya yi murna, ya yi farin ciki sosai, ka gane? So kaga alhamdulillah sana'a ta yi, bisa ga wasu sana'o'i da za a ga mutum ya fara gobe a neme shi a rasa. Kuma duk da haka muna haƙuri da jama'a, akwai wanda zai zo bai san kowa bai zo amma an shanu biyu. Ƙarshen sai ya zo an fara kwana 2 kwana 3 ya ɗiba kan mutane ya gudu, amma duk da haka dai muna nan muna Allah ta'ala kuma ya rufe asiri. Wanda kaga sabanin wani sana'a, in wani sana'a kan lokaci naira 10,000 na mutum ne abin nan, yanzu ka kamar wannan kanina ne, ka gane, shi ma a da yakan je kasuwa ya so shanu guda 7 8 nashi, kowane kasuwa da kuɗin kanshi. To amma Allah ta'ala ya sa an samu jaraba, yanzu kaga dan kai kamar tsawon wata 3 haka bai ma je kasuwar ɗauka, sai dai yana ɗan sana'a, yakan ɗan sai nama da sai ƙananan dabbobi ya haɗa ya je ya yi sana'a. Wai ba fasa ra'ayi ba, diyan da abu ya bada wahala, ka gane, saboda gado ne, ba fasa ra'ayi ba. Shi yasa da kana so kai tambaya cewa an gada, lalle tabbas an gada, kuma ka san aikin gado yana da wuyar jefarwa, ba a jefar da shi. Ko ina zan je wallahi ni zan zama shugaban kasa sai na tallafa ma mahauta musamman, sai na ba su personal taimako na musamman wanda ma wani ba zai zata ba Allah, dan na san darajar sana'an nan, ban taɓa wani sana'a ba a duniya, wannan shine sana'a na, ka gane, na san darajar shi fiye da yadda kake zato. Na tashi wannan kasuwanci na tashi a ciki, ka gane, tun lokacin mun fara yana yanka shanu ɗaya, mun zo Allah ya taimaka muna yanka 2 har ya kai 3 har ya kai 4, wani lokaci ma in aka samu kaman occasion haka muka yanka 7 8, in dai kasuwa ta bude, ka gane, wani lokaci muka yanka 8 7, da kuma masu zuwa suna sari, masu zuwa daga cikin gari kuma suna siya, da masu ɗauka ɗaya. So amma yanzu halin da ake ciki kasuwa ta ɗan ƙasa. Na tashi a cikin wannan sana'a, ka gane ko? Na tsinta kaina a ciki tun da nake ban taɓa wata sana'a ba sai wannan. To alhamdulillah kuma na samu ci gaba a cikin sana'a, ka gane, amma yanzu jarabawa ta zo, to kaga dan jarabawa ta zo kuma ba zan ce in fasa ba, tunda ni ban iya wata sana'a ba sai wannan. Yanzu dai lokaci ne wanda yake Allah ya kamu kasuwa ta ɗan sanyi, amma in ba haka ba da kai karan kanka in ka zo a wannan lokacin ba za mu saurari ka ba, dole za mu ci ma sai dai ka ɗan je zuwa an jima karfe 4 ka zo, amma kaga yanzu ba jama'a sosai. Na tashi a cikin wannan kasuwanci a good condition, duk abokan na, ka gane, sai dai ni in ba wani, sai dai in ba wani abinci ko riga in ba wani, ko kuma in ba wani in taimaka mu ya biya kuɗin makaranta, school fees da sauransu, ka gane. Amma Allah ya rufa ma asiri a wannan kasuwanci, ban taɓa zuwa gurin wani ilo ba, kasuwanci na kenan dimeni ba, so kuma kasuwanci ne mai ƙarfin gaske. Abin da ke faruwa a hali wannan sana'a dai, ka gane, na gaya ma asali sana'a na ne, na tashi a ciki, na yi aure a ciki, na gina gida a ciki, ina da yara ina ɗaukar ɗawainiyar makarantarsu, kuma har ni in taimaka ma wani, ka ga mu nan dukan mu ƴan uwan juna ne, ka gane, wannan babanmu ne, kaga shi yanzu ya kai lokacin da shi bai sana'a yanzu, so mu muke ɗaukar ɗawainiyar iyayenmu da ƙannenmu da sauran ƴan uwa, ka gane ai, ko ƙannenmu za su yi aure mu za mu ɗauki ɗawainiyar su da sauran duk abubuwan da ya kamata a yi. So amma kaga yanzu yanayi ya canza, kaga a da kamar shekara 2 da ya wuce idan ka zo nan irin yau akwai kasuwan ƙauye, amma za ka zo ka samu shanu kamar guda wanda suka rage ba a yanka ba, za ka samu kamar guda 7 ko 8 haka sun rage. Amma kaga yanzu da yake yanayi ya canza, ba shanu sosai, ana wahalan saniya matuƙa. Kaga yau sai in Allah ta'ala kadar an je ne za a dan samu abin da za a yanka, daga nan kuma zuwa gobe ma akwai wani kasuwan za a je a samu, jibi ma akwai wani kasuwan. To haka dai muke bin kasuwannin, in ran da aka je aka samu 4 5 a zo a aje a yanka, ran da aka samu 3, ran da aka samu 4. Amma a da yake akwai su da yawa, muna zaune ma za ga an kawo mana daga ƙauye ana kawo mana aji nan. To amma kaga yanzu Fulani ba su, duk an kora Fulani sun watsi saboda wannan matsalar. To kaga dole ne abubuwa su dan canza, in ba haka ba da mukan fita har Katsina za mu je mu kawo shanu, mun je irin Ciranci, Gujungu, ka gane, za mu je a so shanu, ga kuma nan ana kawowa, kuma su da aka ba su isa, da yake lokacin akwai ciniki, so mutane na sayan nama. Kaga yanzu gashi ba mutane, da nan za a ga masu yanka nama nan kusan mutum 4, wannan yanka wannan yanka wannan yanka, amma yanzu ina lamari ya kai mutane ba su da kuɗi. So kaga alhamdulillah duk da haka ne ba fasa ba, ana nana cikin rufin asirin Allah. To kaga wannan wani abu ne wanda ke inda gwamnati za ta iya tallafa ma mahauta, amma kaga yanzu abubuwa sun kai, wasu ma ba su nan sun wuce, wasu ma sun canza sana'a saboda abun ya yi wuya, ka gani. Kamar da shi mai gidan nan namu, ka gane, akwai wasu ƙannena da za a tashe su je Katsina, za a ba su kamar miliyan 20, wani a bashi 30, wani ya je Kudu za a bashi miliyan 10, wanda zai je Tungan Mala a bashi miliyan 15 a je a so shanu, wannan ya kawo 10, wanda ya je Katsina zai kawo 25, wannan zai je kawo 10, wannan zai kawo 7, haka ne. Kuma a haka sai za ga an kawo daga ƙauye, an kawo ana soke muna siya. Lokacin ma in ka zo sai dai zamu abun nan ayi ciniki a siya a biya. Masu ci ma sukan zo su zo siya, su ma a yanka musu, masu biki za su zo siya a yanka musu, ka gane ai. To amma ka ga yanzu al'amari ga inda al'amari ya zama. To amma duk da haka mun gode ma Allah, inda abu ne wanda yake tsakanin mu da ku, za ku isar da sakon mu zuwa gwamnati, sai mu ce gaskiya ya kamata gwamnati ta tallafa mahauta, dan tsakanin da Allah mahauta suna cikin wani halin da ya kamata a taimaka musu. Duk da yake mun san ba karshen gwamnati muke, muna zaman kanmu, amma mu ma muna karshen gwamnati. Da whole Najeriya ya kamata a taimaka mahauta, dan gaskiya mahauta na kokari da al'umman gari da yaran gari, dan wasu zaman mahauta hana su sana'an banza, hana su shaye-shaye, hana su, ka gane, dauke-dauken kayan jama'a, ka gane. Wani zai tashi a gidansu, in ya je makaranta ya dawo ya zo mahauta ya tsaya nan zai samu abinci, haka zai dan samu naira 100-200 je ya kai maman shi aji, haka za a tara mai kuɗin zai samu abin da zai sai riga, wani lokacin ma an tara maman za ta ɗauka ta amfani da shi. To tun hakan zai sa wasu yi sha'awa sai ga sun dawo suna sha'awan fawon, ka gane, ta ga yaro ya taso ya tashi a mahauta ya girma a mahauta, kaga shi ma zai kama na shirye shi yana kasuwanci ne mai kyau, kasuwanci ne mai albarka, kasuwanci ne mai asali mai tarihi mai dimbin tarihi. Na farko dai muna neman taimako wurin ubangiji, duk da yake mun san jarabawa ne, Allah ta'ala ya yi mana dan mun san insha Allah komai zai dawo daidai. Jarabawa ne wanda suka fi ma an jarabe bare mu. Anan muna yanka shanu, wani lokaci muka yanka 30, wani lokaci muka yanka 20. Yanzu ne da kasuwa ta yi sanyi muka yanka 7, 8, 10, 12. To kowace saniya ɗaya, saniya na da albarka fiye da yadda kake zato. Kowace saniya ɗaya wallahi aka yanka ta, in za a tsoma mutane da ke ci abinci a saniya ɗaya wallahi za ka yi mamaki. Dan kaga aka yanka saniya ɗaya wani zai ɗauki nama ɗaya, cikin nama ɗaya wannan da mata 2 yana da yara, a ciki ne zai samu abin da zai ce ya sutura ya yi ɗaune iyalinsa, ka gane, ya biya kuɗin makarantar yara. A saniya ɗaya akwai masu aiki wanda suna fiɗa, su ma nan daga cikin su akwai mai mata 2, akwai mai mata 3, akwai mai mata 1, haka dai akwai wanda ba su da mata. A saniya ɗaya masu aikin ta mutum 4 karanci kenan, wani lokaci mutum 6-7 suna aikin saniya ɗaya, kuma kowa zai samu abin da zai cikin ikon Allah. To kaga saniya tana da albarka sosai fiye da yadda kake zato. Ai nan muna da yawa nan a hali yanzu da muka yi karanci mun kai kusan 350 a hali yanzu, amma a da mun kai kusan 600 da wani abu a nan gurin. Muna da association da muke da shi a nan gurin, in aka ɗauko ma list ɗin kaga sunan mutane za ka ce ba nan ba ne, saboda yawan da jama'a muna da jama'a da yawa nan. Duk wani wanda yake na neman wani matsayi a siyasa musamman yakan taso yanzu nan ya same mu, don ya sa akwai jama'a nan sosai. To amma yanzu wasu duk sun wuce, wasu je gona, wasu kuma sun je, wasu ma sun je sana'a, wasu ma sun je kasuwannin ƙauye. Nan ka ga yau kasuwa, wasu sun je kasuwannin ƙauye, masu ƙananan dabbobi, masu shanu duk dai sun abin nan.
All right, thank you for staying. That was the Daily Hustle segment that tends to bring you, just to give you a sense of how Nigerians are, fending for themselves and putting food on their table. Now, let's take a look at our newspapers this morning, the stories on the front pages of our papers, and we'll begin with the Daily Trust newspaper, as always.
Okay.
Let Stella do us the honors.
Okay, on the Daily Trust newspaper, the biggest story there is on this Plateau State, this attack that happened in Plateau State. It says survivors recount day of terror in Plateau villages. A writer says Muslims, Christians among victims. Assailants said they were after men. This is coming from some of the women that were there. My father was killed because he could not run. Invaders came from neighboring Taraba. Then on the left-hand, top left of the newspaper, we have LG polls, APC sweeps Katsina, PDP clears Adamawa. Bad SIM cards won't be blocked without won't be unblocked without NIN linkage, says federal government. At the bottom we have killings. Northern elders ask Buhari to resign. We also have the story here. 3 remanded for kidnapping 72-year-old woman from Lagos Mosque. 25 killed in fresh Benue attacks. Again, Senate passes fiscal bill. We have this pictorial here where you see residents of Kukawa who fled their homes to Wasi town of Wasi local government area of the state. Ayuba, it's disheartening to see a picture like
really
this.
Disheartening, really disheartening. People, there are those who have said, well, we've never had it this bad in terms of insecurity in the country. And I'm sure that for government, the first thing to say is, well, I mean, look at us. We are not experiencing the kind of bomb explosions that we were experiencing in the past, and that local governments in Borno State have been reclaimed, and all of that. So we count that as achievement. Yes, agreed. But I mean, Nigeria is bigger than Borno State, isn't it?
No, what has happened is that while we have been able to achieve some success in Borno and part of the northeast generally, the problem has moved to other parts of the country. As a matter of fact, it's spreading like wildfire.
So
it's
it's
going
not
almost
like
everywhere now.
It's not like we've been able to deal with the issues of insecurity.
I don't think so,
You know,
because
if anything, the insurgents are now spreading. And
we
going
now
to
have another
other
name. We
parts
have now bandits,
of
you
the
know.
country.
So,
Yeah.
and it's like on a daily basis, we keep adding to the number of displaced persons. Now, these people have fled their community in Kukawa. They have gone to Wasi.
Exactly.
Do you understand?
And
so
look at
every
the
day we
accounts.
have a number of people adding to the displaced
True.
persons.
And look at the accounts. One of the women witnesses there saying that they are after men.
They were after men.
Why men? I mean, clearly this is a modus operandi of Boko Haram, isn't it?
Yes.
I mean, we have known them to be, always the ones after men because they want more recruits, and if you are not going to join them, then you die.
You die.
That's their strategy, and it would be naive for us to now continue to call them gunmen or
no, we can't call them gunmen at this stage. And then look at this sad story, my sad account. My father was killed because he could not run. Now, this little boy that said this is going to grow up with this image in his head. My father was killed because he could not run.
True.
And what kind of adult is this child going to grow up into?
It's so
this
gory.
Sort of thing.
It's so gory. If you listen to the accounts, some are even saying, well, the woman that was giving her own account said, she has seen how men will rise and fall trying to escape, the attack, by other men. I mean, come to think of it, no one has a monopoly of violence, for crying out loud.
Yeah, but these people come heavily armed.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. That the only
armed.
difference between them and this community, these residents of this community, is the arm, isn't it? So, and if as citizens, we have surrendered our rights. I mean, rights, yes, in some extent. We have surrendered our powers to the state to protect us, right?
Protect us, yeah.
Then it is expected that the state does that.
They ought to rise to the occasion
Exactly.
at times like this.
Exactly. So,
yes.
I mean, it's sickening. I'm wondering if there's anything that needs to be said about this insecurity thing that has not been said yet.
And another thing is, you see this part, they say invaders came from neighboring Taraba. No part of the country is safe. People can move from one part to the other and just carry out these attacks and go. And you ask yourself, how do they move? The people the accounts from Plateau State said that these people came on motorbikes. How did they move? Nobody saw them. How?
Perhaps people saw them and looked the other way. That's my conclusion.
That's why I'm always talking about intelligence gathering. You want to tell me that nobody, no security agent, no, somebody who could take action saw that there was that kind of movement.
Well, it's really, really sad.
It is indeed. It is.
Well, let's just flip through, some of these papers that we have before we join our correspondent over in Jos that will give us an update on this, particular incident. Now, on the Leadership newspaper, it leads with the story on politics. It says, 2023 CSOs kick against consensus as mode of choosing candidates, and that's according to the Leadership newspaper. The lead story on the Blueprint newspaper, it says, Russian-Ukraine war, Buhari seeks review of 2022 fiscal framework. It has the writers that says, once oil benchmark raised to $73 per barrel, increases subsidy to 4 trillion naira, demands additional 182.45 billion naira for police, reverses decline to $39.5 billion in March 2022. Europe, Asia economies to shrink by 4.1% over war, and that's according to the World Bank. And then Nigeria's oil supply to Asia drops. India tilts towards Russia. And that's for the Blueprint. Now, if you take a look at the News Direct this morning, the lead story says $100 oil price. FG raises 2022 fuel subsidy budget to 4 trillion naira. So it has the writers that also says it seeks Senate approval for fiscal expenditure adjustments, cuts upstream JV fund by 200 billion naira. and then reduces oil production by 283,000 barrels per day, and then adds 161.40 billion naira to personnel cost, and provides additional 182.45 billion naira fund for police welfare. And that's according to the News Direct this morning.
The Punch has the lead story on the Punch newspaper says PDP consensus suffers setback zoning panel submits report. Then we have the story up here that says Oshibajo seeks senators' support, invites APC reps. Then on the top of the paper, there's a story there. Nigeria's oil production crashed by 744,000 barrels in March, says OPEC. Lagos nurse performs surgery on Edo Beast woman, victim dies. Then there's still an update on this gospel singer, Osinachi. Suspect says wife was ill before death. Police verify claims. Then we also have the story here that says 25 killed in fresh Benue attacks. Governor calls for self-defense. Ayuba, all right. This story, Nigeria's oil production crashed by 744,000 barrels in March, says OPEC. What can be more dangerous for an economy like Nigeria that is solely dependent on revenue from oil?
I mean, this is like a song now, right? We've been always talking about this economic diversification drive and all of that. But, I mean, there's so much to say about that. I'd like for us to just...
that goes back to the fact that oil theft, to the issue of oil theft. The issue of oil theft we cannot talk about it enough. It's important to tackle the oil theft because most of this crash, most of it is due to the oil theft. That's why we are not able to produce as much as we should. Yes. And in the country, Nigeria should not, in fact, because of the fact that our economy is dependent on it, we should be able to produce at least the quota that has been given to us.
Yeah, but I mean, vandalism will not let that happen.
No,
theft
vandalism, theft,
So
sabotage by the same Nigerians.
And the corruption, theft that we're talking about here, not only from oil bunkers, but even from among officials of government,
of course,
security personnel. So it's kind of a systematic, organized kind of a crime. But let's take a look at more stories on our papers. The headlines on the national economy says fuel scarcity may persist as existing price regime encourages smuggling. The lead story on the Daily Times says NEF asked Buhari to resign over rising insecurity. We'll look at that much later on the program. This day newspaper, the lead story, Buhari, senators, others flay plateau killings, say act heinous and unforgivable. The Nation newspaper, more appointees resign in states over electoral acts, and that's the lead story there. On The Guardian, it says Kaduna most hit as attacks on power plants, rail, airports peak. We'll talk about that later. And then that's that for the stories. We'll be coming back to our newspaper reviews later. Now, let's join our correspondent who is currently in Jos to give us an update on the recent attack. Vince Dixon, good morning. Now, we've heard about this, this attack in Kanam, and it's quite a sad, sad story. If you, read the details this morning, some of us were reading the details on the front page of Daily Trust newspaper, and it's quite sad, and gory. Take us through what happened and what's currently happening.
Yes, honestly, the attack is so sad, and in terms of what happened, it's I know we have to dig in again, because Kanam has never witnessed such an attack before. It doesn't have any ethno-religious coloration, and there's so many issues around it. People cannot even ascertain what actually happened. Just as you rightly said, people are saying in the studio that the attackers came from the neighboring Taraba, and what was their mission? Are they trying to achieve? All these things, we are still trying to get feelers from people on ground, and even the security agencies have not really been able to say anything for real. However, the government has come out yesterday to issue a statement condemning the attack, and whenever there's attack, there's always condemnation, and then the next moment you are thinking of where the attack should happen. Burial was done yesterday, and they were still trying to reach out to dig in to really know what exactly is the problem. Because those people who came in the commando style of they came on motorbikes, while those at the back are shooting, the other ones at the front were riding the bikes. Even some people that were able to escape, they will still follow them into their houses and shoot them and gun them down and all of that. So the issue right now is that we are still trying to ascertain what is exactly the problem. Because Canam has not have any violence-related issues. We have become more or less like war correspondent in Plateau State. We cover those things that happen anywhere, hoping that soon the killings will be tackled and all of that. But the issue of Canam is specific. And now Kanaman Wase, if we try to look at it, we keep imagining there is the issue is pure terrorism. That's what I can call it. Because there is no, I tried reaching out to the Speaker of House of Assembly last night. His phone was off because he's from Canam, so that I can get if there's any other new angle he can give us. And his phone was off throughout last night. I was trying to call him. His phone was not going through. The person of Sally Ipmon, he's the Deputy Speaker of the House. He's from Canam. And I tried to reach out to other people again. Honestly speaking, we can only theorize. But to tell you really that this is what the aim of the attack is. We are still yet to get a grip on it, but however, trust us, we are going to be digging it, and then we will come out with something much more substantial. But for now, that kind of attack is just a attack. Even
All right,
know.
Dixon. It appears.
Are you hearing me?
Dixon, can you hear us?
I'm here. Hello, Minister, I'm still here.
We are, the news reports say that about 70 people were abducted. Any updates on the whereabouts of those people?
No, there's no, from the security angle, there's no update for now. And how can some people be abducted on a bike? Where were they taken to? We are still going to look into it. This morning I'm trying to call the STF or the Commissioner of Police, spokesman of the security of police, to see what you can gather as at this morning. But as at last night, after the burial, so many people are already mourning the loss of what happened. Many houses were burnt down. And if we are trying to see the linkage from Taraba to Canam, it's not quite that far. But what we are trying to gather, once I get an update on it, speaking with the security agencies and probably the people on ground to tell us, come out and tell us about the abductions. But the most one that we now have on our hands is that people were killed, houses were burnt down, and we are trying to follow up on those that were adopted so that we can have an update on that.
Now, Dixon, what can you say about the presence of security personnel in some of those areas? One thing that strikes a lot of people is how these criminals were able to move around unhindered. We do not have checkpoints, right? Don't we have presence, at least some kind of presence of security personnel in some of these local governments, police stations maybe, or maybe some military posts somewhere and all that? Are we, what would you say about that?
No, I think the security people probably are overwhelmed right now as it stands. I think they are overwhelmed, and sometimes they depend on order, because we have seen situations where they will station by the roadside and something is happening at a nearby community, and they have not probably, I've tried to ask questions sometimes, but something is happening nearby, and they say they have not gotten the order to really go there. So sometimes they have to wait on orders to be given to them, and then sometimes, even if the orders were given, we don't actually see results. So the security personnel, I don't know, they are either overwhelmed or because of the way the hierarchy and the way they wait for orders before going about their security activities. But before then, the damages has been done. These people have come, who kill and go, and then when they go there, sometimes, they nothing, nobody to arrest. And then they will always say, and sometimes even if they repel, they say we repel and they retreated. Retreated to where? That's the question we keep asking. Where did they retreat to? So we
There
don't
was,
always.
when a member of the House of Representatives representing that area, in his condolence message, he said that there was intelligence report over 9 months ago that bandits were coming towards that part of Plateau State. Are you aware of that?
Yes, we are aware, because Kanam is close to Wase, and Wase too is close to what's the name, Lantang. The embattled chairman of Lantang local government area, in the person of Joshua Lavelle Banduma, sometimes last year raised an alarm. I attended the meeting. He raised an alarm that terrorists are planning to attack those territories. And then he copied all the security outfits in the state. He copied them that terrorists are trying to attack these territories, but basically he was talking about Lantang, and Lantang is sharing boundary with Kanam and Wasi. So when he raised the alarm, the attack didn't happen, but he told them that they have already encircled those areas and they're within those rocks. And he said that, but however, he has already alerted the security agencies. But what we are still asking is that, okay, if he has alerted them and he has told them that Lantang has never been attacked actually, but we saw an attack in Wasi and then now in Kanam. So that's to tell you that it's real, and those people are already within those axes. There are mountains there, and that they are already camped there, kind of. So we are expecting that the government, the security agencies will be more proactive. There was an alarm actually to this incident, but the action is what we are not. Was not properly taken to prevent those attacks.
All right. Well, the governor has given directives, for relief materials to be, deployed in those locations, and for some traumatic, center. I mean, for some traumatic help also given to the victims of this attack. Is there any update in that regard?
Government normally issues statements because attacks are almost a recurring decimal in Plateau State, so to speak. And we'll follow up on that. I will try to reach out to the spokesperson or the Commissioner of Information, person of Dan Manjang, to know the update on that, and we'll follow it up and to see how it's administered.
In any case, beyond even administering, these relief materials, I'm sure that these communities, I'm not even sure if people will be staying there, at this point in time, because maybe they would have, fled for their lives and all of that. Is there maybe some kind of IDP camp now, maybe around those locations?
No, there's no IDP camps. Right now in Jos, the IDP camps at the point they were staying in geosciences by Angle D. That's those ones that had issues around Gashish in Bakinladi and the other places and Riom like that. They were staying somewhere around Angle D, geosciences. That's the name of the facility that was given for IDP, but somehow they were relocated back to their places. But that's why I said the attack in the southern zone, which is Kanam area, is part of the southern zone, southern senatorial zone. They don't have, there's so much security issues there of this scale. So originally in Plateau State, there is no IDP. And for those ones who have run from Kanam, we will try and trace them to know where they are staying. Some of them may be staying with relatives, and those that are still staying put, we'll find out why are they staying put. Those that have run away will know where they are. But right now, for the issue of IDP, we don't know of any. We've not heard of any. But if there's any of such, wherever it is, we'll locate it and we'll update accordingly.
So what's the general security situation now in that particular area? Is there beefed up security? Have there been deployment of more security agents to that area?
No, not really. Not really. Just as I told you, security in Plateau State, I won't lie, they're overwhelmed. So they're not really. Probably they went to the place and they tried to do some assessment, and as usual, return back to their post. And then the next thing you have another attack nearby or far away. So I don't think there's any special security forces, to my knowledge, that has been deployed there. You understand? But I will.
Thank you so much, Dixon, for joining us and giving us this update. We'll continue to follow up with you what's coming up from Plateau State there. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Ayuba. Thank you, Marcella.
All right. Now, meanwhile, President Muhammadu Buhari has said that the perpetrators of the brutal terrorist attacks in Kanam and Wase communities in Plateau State should get no mercy and not be allowed to escape justice. Now, the president, in a statement issued by his media aide Garba Shehu, described the killings as heinous. Buhari, who directed that they should not be spared or forgiven, also ordered law enforcement agencies to work assiduously and strenuously with the government of the state to bring the situation under control and take steps to bring the culprits to justice quickly. The president expressed condolences over the terrorist incident, saying that as a matter of priority, peace must return at all costs to the state and the entire country. The statement follows the mass burial of victims of Sunday morning attacks on 4 communities in Plateau State by bandits. Now, the victims were, however, given a mass burial on Monday. This is what we know so far as that is concerned, and it's really sickening, and it feels, very, very heartbreaking.
When you have to bury 80 people at once, it is heartbreaking.
It is.
And then mass burial. I know some of the relatives would have wanted to give a different kind of burial to their relative, but it is.
They didn't get the chance.
They didn't get the chance to do so. And then another important part is the fact that over 70 people are still missing. That is very important. Efforts need to be made to ensure that these people are rescued alive.
And what is more important to me is the response of our security forces. We keep saying that our security forces are overwhelmed. Then what can we do for them not to be overwhelmed? Does it mean massive recruitment, into the
We don't just say they're
force?
overwhelmed and then stop there.
Exactly.
Because that is not a solution.
Exactly.
Because either way we need security.
Yeah.
So
being overwhelmed is not an option.
It's not an option.
That's what I'm interested in. I'm really looking to see what are we doing. And
we've been saying they are overwhelmed for too long. It's time to do whatever it is to address that situation. And like you said the response of our security agents. I keep wondering, why do they always have to respond? Why can't they stop the attacks so that they don't have to respond?
Before it even happens.
Yes.
Like taking the fight to the criminals wherever they are.
They should be like proactive, not waiting all the time.
And it's becoming more like a tradition. Each time these things happen, you can always predict the response of government.
Sometimes I can actually, I know what everybody will say. I can tell, I can predict what each person will say when there's an attack. It doesn't change. It's like there's a template. So, and that's not the way to go.
Really, really sad. All right, now we'll take a short break, and then when we come back, the show will continue. Please stay with us.
As the 2023 elections draw near, remember, evil prospers when good men and women only wish for peace, but never take a step to make peaceful elections happen. Are you a father? Are you a mother? What are you saying to your children as elections approach? Have you warned them not to let themselves be used to cause violence? Have you explained to them what the consequences of electoral violence might be? Do your part to make peaceful elections happen. Talk to your children. Protect them from unscrupulous politicians who want to put them in harm's way, while their own children are comfortable at home, within and outside the country. Let's join hands to make 2023 elections peaceful. This message is from the National Orientation Agency, NOAA.
This is Trust TV, documenting the Nigerian story. All right, thank you for staying. And if you are just joining, this is Daybreak reaching you live from the nation's capital in Abuja. And of course, I am Ayuba Ilya. I'm not alone in the studio as always.
Thanks for joining us. My name is Stella Iyaji.
You know, just for those who are just joining us, let's take a look at the headlines again. District head shot dead inside Taraba Mosque.
Police raid illicit drug factory in Bayelsa, nab 4 suspects.
Perpetrators of plateau killings must not be spared, and that's according to the president.
Now the news in details. Gunmen have attacked a mosque in Maisamari town in Sadauna local government area of Taraba State, killing Alhaji Abdulkadir Maisamari, a district head. According to witnesses, Maisamari was killed during congregational prayers on Monday night. The gunmen reportedly opened fire immediately they stormed the mosque. Residents were said to have confronted the gunmen, forcing them to flee into a mountain close to the town. A resident, Musa Saleh, told Daily Trust that some courageous persons confronted the gunmen who forcefully fled.
Now, President Muhammadu Buhari has said that the perpetrators of the brutal terrorist attacks in Kanam and Wase communities in Plateau State should get no mercy and not be allowed to escape justice. The president, in a statement issued Tuesday by his media aide Garba Shehu, described the killings as heinous. Buhari, who directed that they should not be spared or forgiven, also ordered law enforcement agencies to work strenuously with the government of the state to bring the situation under control and take steps to bring the culprit to justice quickly. The president expressed condolences over the terrorist incident, saying that as a matter of priority, peace must return at all costs to the state and the entire country. The statement follows the mass burial of victims of Sunday morning attacks on 4 communities in Plateau State by bandits. Now, let's take a look at some more reports. A special court known as Small Claims Court has been established by the Nasarawa State Judiciary to entertain matters on settlement of commercial dispute not exceeding 5 million naira. Chief Judge of the state, Aisha Bashir, made this known while signing the document titled Practice Direction on Small Claims 2022. Our correspondent Abubakar Abdullahi has the details of that report.
The establishment of the Small Claims Court by the Nasarawa State Judiciary is to enhance speedy resolution of commercial disputes and debt recovery, and is expected to be handled by the State Customary Court. Speaking shortly after signing of the document titled Practice Direction of Small Claims 2022, Justice Aisha Bashir said introducing Small Claims Court in the state judiciary is in line with her commitment to administering justice to the common man in the society.
This issue of small claims court has been something that was agitating my mind ever since I was just a judge, because we have petitions, complaints from farmers and not solitary members of society who are being shortchanged by the police, and now he said the defense corps. I agree with him. So when the issue of the small claims court came to our attention, we felt it very, very necessary to bring sanity to the system as it is.
Justice Aisha, who described the signing of the Small Claims Court in the judicial process as a welcome development, said it will ease the workload of High Court judges in the state. While commending the state government for providing necessary logistics for the smooth running of the judicial system, the Chief Judge equally tasked relevant stakeholders to support the initiative, which is geared towards bringing justice to the doorstep of the common man. In a remark, Vice President, Business Reform, Nasarawa State Investment and Development Agency, Stella Ajige, noted that Nasarawa State is the first state in the North Central to establish Small Claims Court, and explained that the initiative will advance and provide enabling environment for business activities to thrive.
It is no doubt that this small claims court would advance the business environment and create an enabling environment for businesses to thrive within the state.
Also speaking, Chairman, Nigeria Bar Association, Lafia Branch, Mustafa Sadiq, who lauded the judiciary for establishing the special court, said members of the association will support the initiative for justice to prevail.
This particular bold step is to go a long way in bringing succor to people, particularly the petty traders around, the peasant farmers as well, because some, they look onto this paramilitary as if they are semi-caught. But we've been telling them they are not caught.
Abubakar Abdullahi, Trust TV News, Lafia.
Now, time for another report. Calls for concerted efforts that will ensure that street and homeless children are not ignored in national priorities form part of the campaigns that heralded the marking of the International Day for Street Children in Abuja. Members of the Young Ambassadors Against Drug Abuse Initiative, YADAI, made the call during a walk to the National Assembly to drum support for street children by calling on lawmakers to address issues affecting them. Trust TV's Aisha Salihu has the details.
Children, they say, are the leaders of tomorrow. But what relevance has been given to the children on the street? These children who lack access to quality healthcare and education, among other social amenities. It is against this backdrop that the International Day for Children on the Street has been created. A day that has been set aside to mark the resilience and the challenges that the children on the street face all around the world.
The walk was, among other things, to draw the attention of lawmakers to the plight of street children, abuse of human rights that comes with being on the street, as well as sensitize the leadership of the National Assembly on the relevance of the day.
feel that the legislators have a lot to do, and one of the issues that is affecting us that we're not even getting it right is the fact that we do not even have a data of how many street children we have in Nigeria. And if you do not have a data, how do you address a problem?
While addressing the children, the lawmakers assured that laws will be enacted to address the issue of street children and human rights abuse and urged the children to be good ambassadors of the country.
Ours is to provide solutions to problems. And we can see from the placards that you are holding the issues that are very germane, very fundamental to the heart of the Nigerian child, issues of education, issues of security, issues of health, issues that have to do with gainful employment for our parents to be able to cater for our needs.
But beyond inclusion, you also need to make up your minds to be good children, to be good ambassadors of our country, to follow the rules, to follow all those things that are right. We know that there are problems with peer pressure all over Nigeria. That is why so many things are rampant. Rape, murder, kidnapping, all sorts, and now ritual murders.
Children present equally noted that the experiences of street children could make or break their personalities, which will ultimately affect the society as a whole.
Lawmakers at the National Assembly here in the Federal Capital Territory and other relevant stakeholders are promising social inclusion to these street children, among other demands that they are asking for. And they also say that there would be elimination and total eradication of the street children in the country. Aisha Salihu, Trust TV News, Abuja.
All right, thank you for staying. Now we'll be taking a look at the stories on the front pages of our newspapers this morning, and we have the Director of Voice of Nigeria, Ben Sherman, who will be joining us to give us perspectives on these stories. Good morning, and thank you for joining us on Daybreak.
Thank you, my pleasure once again.
Yeah.
It's always a delight to have you here.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. All right, now, Stella.
Yeah, we're starting with the Daily Trust newspapers. The lead story there says survivors recount day of terror in Plateau State. The writer, it has the first writer says Muslims, Christians among victims. Asalan said they were after men, says women that were there. Says a woman who was there. My father was killed because he could not run. Invaders came from neighboring Taraba. On the left, on the top left of the paper, we have LG polls, APC sweeps Katsina, PDP clears Adamawa. Bad SIM cards won't be unblocked without NIN linkage, says the federal government. Killings, Northern elders ask Buhari to resign. This is at the bottom of the paper. But then we also have the story that says 3 remanded for kidnapping 72-year-old woman from Lagos Mosque. 25 killed in fresh Benue attacks. Again, Senate passes Peace Corps bill. And then there's a pictorial there, of course, capturing the image of the community in Plateau State. The pictorial is captioned, residents of Kukawa who fled their homes to Wasi town or Wasi local government area of the state.
Well, let's get perspectives on that, right away from our guest. Well, I mean, have we gotten to that time yet when we would say, look, we need to declare a state of emergency on this issue of insecurity all over the country, and we will suspend any other thing that is not really, about life, at this point in this country?
Honestly, time is ripe enough. And I remember the same plateau, then President Obasanjo did it. And of course, the state of emergency too was declared in some states of northeast of this country. So I think it's right. Now, look at the attacks. The paper is saying Christians, Muslims, all are victims. And that tells you there's this thing they call not in my backyard in public relations. In other words, when something is happening and it is not affecting your community, you feel you are not affected. It shouldn't be so. everybody, people of conscience, should just condemn this, and not just condemn. Government must move in to ensure that these criminals are not just caught, in fact, they are brought to justice. Justice, as the president is also saying, anybody with AK-47 is already guilty. Eliminate him.
So why has that been very difficult to implement? But because from what it seems, it looks like, no one is looking. It looks like everyone is asleep. It looks like the criminals will, because, I mean, if you think about how they move in large numbers on motorbikes, right? It's not something that is hidden. Even if it were in the bush, I mean, we have security personnel, isn't it? Yes. So it looks like someone is just looking away from these things, as they happen.
And they also come broad daylight. Not that it has to be in the dark for there to be some shield, a kind of. But again, I'm not speaking for any of the security agencies. But look at the size of this country and look at the number of security agencies. So few. So few. But again, if you have a mobile force, when I say mobile, the Air Force moves with helicopters. I mean, once upon a time, you had Tafa Balogun as IG of police, who indeed was busy doing some rehearsals around Abuja here with helicopters, how people would do some parachuting, armed, and they'll just land and continue quelling riots or insecurity situations. Where are these helicopters? And if we're talking about the Air Force, we also expect that once in a while, in fact, not just once in a while, the moment there is an issue, I mean, there has to be a number that people can easily call, reach them, and
Mr.
people
Sherman,
just, yes.
When you were here last time, you were talking about the attack on the Kaduna-Abuja rail track.
Yeah.
Today, you're talking about the attack in Plateau. At what point are we going to say enough is enough? Are we going to, are the rhetorics not enough?
Honestly, they all are enough. But again, do we have personnel who are indeed enough to handle this situation? Do we have the equipment enough to handle this situation? Are we committed, either by way of being civilians or the military itself or security personnel? Are we committed? Because there are always moles too around the corner. But I'll also repeat, Stella, what I said last weekend, and last week, Wednesday, around this hour. Let us re-engage some of this personnel. A situation where you have fighter pilots in their prime, they've been retired, they are now made redundant, and you know how long and what it takes to train such people. Let us recall these people. Who are the infantry experts? Who are the artillery experts? Let us recall these people and the joint forces to ensure that this is. It's not just for the president to say, look, when you see AK-47 carrying a person, just shoot him, in as much as he's not of the security agencies. I think that government should look at it, just like you said, in a state of emergency. Let us recall many of these agile, many rugged guys who indeed have been retired and they are willing to still serve this country. I think it's doable. If we just look at the lives that are gone, you look at the destruction of property, you look at the insecurity, that tells you that it is time for government to simply have a rethink, rework security. And I'm still recommending, let us call these soldiers who indeed have left, or the Air Force personnel, the fighter pilots, let us have them on ground. Some of these people know these terrains, and we should also, as we're talking of funds, a simple number where communities, once there is an attack, they see a strange movement, they raise the alarm quickly, and of course, you now see reactions immediately. But we should not wait till they have killed, they have maimed, they have destroyed, they've captured. Is then we're now thinking of how to react. we should be ahead of the criminals. Because if you look at it, in most cases, they must have studied the situation, saw some lapses, and of course, before going into their dastardly acts.
Mr. Chairman, with the way these attacks are happening back to back, it's beginning to look like they have the upper hand. Do they?
Truly, they don't have the upper hand. Because when you engage in what you call hit and run tactics, that cannot be upper hand. If you have an upper hand, do you have a fixed address? These people move around taking all sorts of shapes like a amoeba. So they don't have
If they don't, why are we where we are?
We are where we are because I've given you some scenario. Our number is surely not enough.
In any case, are they actually hitting and running because their addresses is known? After all, that's what the governor of Kaduna State told us.
Some government officials have said so.
That government knows the camps where these criminals are. Yes. They know where they are staying, they have their phone numbers, they listen to their conversations and all of that. We've heard that before.
Ayuba,
so
when we're talking of political statements are different. And when some politicians talk to a kind of increase.
But it doesn't look like political because I've heard that even from some security personnel.
Yes.
Who said that sometimes they know the locations of these places, but there seems to be some kind of reluctance in terms of maybe their superiors in giving orders.
Now let's look at, when you say you know locations, yes, we hear of Sambisa Forest. That's a location, but it is not a spot. When you say Niger State in forest, I mean, yes, you are saying forest. Yes, it is the forest, but what spot?
Not the forest.
Yes.
The governor of Kaduna State was very specific. He said there are camps. He said the government knows there are camps. That's what he said.
And that is also why specific. The same governors will expect that we should have state police. And if you look at how much they collect when it comes to these security votes, we should be able to handle some of these things. Even in the same Kaduna State, didn't the state government, through the police, they had their own helicopters to fight this kind of insecurity. Where's the helicopter today in Kaduna State? Or where are the helicopters? They had them. Where are they? And so we should be able to discern between political statements, trying to create some, you want to stand up there and blame the rest down there. I think that time has come that politicians, security agencies should come together and work together. Politicians are the very reason why you don't see even the security agencies not having enough money, enough equipment. And we kept on saying it. Any bullet fired is dollars gone. One single bullet. And when you look at the armored personnel carriers, the tankers, armored tanks being blasted here and there, being destroyed here and there, how much is one? They cost a lot of money. So when people talk to get screaming headlines, they are different from handling security issues. They are different from handling lives. We should not be looking at this security as, oh, how many people, look at the headlines today. Benue, so number gone. Plateau, so number gone. Why are we just interested in arithmetic when we should be hindering this thing? We should have a common platform. Politicians, Nigerians, journalists, everybody, if we're talking of national security, national interest, making Nigeria work, I think it is time for everyone to be on board. And I can see that elders from the north.
As a follow-up to Ayuba's question, he said some leaders have said that they know where these people are. Some leaders have also said they know the sponsors of these people. Is that also a political statement? That's one. Secondly, if they know the sponsors, what happened to naming and shaming them?
We shouldn't just name and shame.
And prosecuting them.
In fact, they should be secluded, kept where they belong, prison and finally death. Because they all are evil. But when people say they know, honestly, why don't you, if there is a gap, a map, and there is a camp, and it follows that, yes, the security agencies should be able to go into all of that. But again, I want to tell you, there are times you find people who indeed, either by way of not doing their job, abating or failing to do their jobs, and that brings in this kind of uncontrolled situations we are seeing. But I am still insisting, in spite of all of this, honestly, the security agencies are more trained and capable, but we lack numbers to tackle this.
All right. Well, let's take a look at other stories. While all of these things are happening, another issue that has been on the front burner of recent is the issue of politics. So, for instance, I have like 10 papers here that I'm looking at, and only about 3 of them are talking about insecurity. All the rest of them is either they talk about politics, talking about the 2023 general elections, or issues of economy. So I take one of them, for instance, the Nation newspaper. It leads with the story of more appointees resign in states over electoral act. So, I mean, yesterday we saw the Sultan of Sokoto, who was saying that, I mean, there may be no 2023.
There may be no Nigeria in 2023.
So, I mean, let's talk about the fundamentals here. What should even our politicians be talking about right now? We've seen a lot of people declare intention to run for, presidential seats, but I've not heard how many of them, or I've not heard them talk about, what they are profiling as solution to the issues of insecurity, right now that we're dealing with.
Absolutely. You see, when people say that President Muhammadu Buhari or APC came on ground because they saw there were lapses on the side of PDP, and especially security. Now, I want to see the presidential candidate who indeed will be bold enough to say, security, security, this is my agenda, security. Because if you have security, politically, everything will be fine. But again, politicians can destroy this same security. And that's why today, it's understandable when the nation is just talking about politics. The publisher of that newspaper is Asiwaju Ahmed Tinubu, and he's a presidential aspirant. So you could see that they will do everything to kind of show some kind of support. But what we are simply saying is, let us also know that without security, politics is just zero. Without security, investments will be zero. Without security, educational institutions, there will be no lectures, no sessions, nothing. Without education, without security, even traveling, either by air, road, sea, water, by road, it will be zero. And that is why all hands must be on deck. And the journalists who indeed cast these newspapers, I think there has to be a rethinking too, so that we look at, is there a place where the economy is doing well? Is there a place where some Nigerians are inventing, are companies making some profits despite the odds? We begin to highlight them rather than waking up with these screaming headlines, raising hypertension, increasing enmity, increasing uncertainties. I think that the politicians should also let us ensure there is a stable polity. Because if I can go to any village, maybe I have a flat tire and I feel, okay, it's dark, let me simply knock in anybody's house and just sleep there. That is what it should be. Today, people are just, afraid even of neighbors. It shouldn't be. Let Nigeria go back as it used to be. And check the investments. I was surprised that a minister in Nigeria is saying that some countries in West Africa in particular are busy wooing, begging, and giving incentives to some companies in Nigeria to just evacuate, resign from Nigeria and go invest in those countries. So what are the attractions? Let us try and make the place attractive.
Okay.
And in doing that, there has to be security.
All right. Now, still talking, insecurity. There's a story here that says kidnapped train passengers not insured against terror attacks, and that's according to federal government officials. And we saw yesterday too, the families of those victims that have been kidnapped are calling on the government, the federal government or state government, to initiate talks with, these terrorists that abducted their loved ones. From what one of the parents, of the abductees, she said that there have not been any communication, to the families of the victims, and that's quite sad, really. Days, weeks, almost 2 weeks now after that attack, and such a conversation has not happened between the government and the families of those that have been kidnapped. If you saw the video, one of the what the kidnappers are saying, the terrorists are saying, is that they do not have problem with the people that they have abducted. They have problem with government, and that the government know what they are demanding from them. They don't want money because they have not requested for any ransom, from people, at least from what we know so far. So what is it that they want? And shouldn't we be having that conversation? I know that Kaduna State government has a position already that they are not willing to negotiate with bandits. But, there has to be some kind of, if you do not have the military might to go after this criminal, to get back these people that have been abducted, there should be something that you will do, isn't it?
Yeah. You see, it is always said that the fact that a giant shook hands or is shaking hands with a dwarf does not make the giant a dwarf. The fact that government can lean backwards, change position, and negotiate with these people does not mean a sign of weakness. And one of their key demands is that they have about 20 commanders under government coffers. I mean, detention. And so they want these people released. Now, the fear of government too is, if you release these people, what comes of them? And again, while they are in detention, we expect some psychologists, some imams, some religious clerics to meet these people, these leaders. Let us begin to rework thinking, preaching. Let us look at your ideology. Let us look at mine. Can we see where there is a point of convergence positively for the sake of humanity? And before you know it, even when they are released, you see many of them will not want to go back to where...
Mr. Chairman, these people, do they have an ideology though? The bandits? They
ideology,
they haven't come out with anything.
Yes, there is extremism. Extremism is an ideology. But if you bring down extremist positions, and of course you are de-radicalized, not radicalized, you see that you drop some of those things. If we are not together, you are an enemy.
We also have some of them who have been given amnesty in the past, and they came out. There were pictures between them and the government officials, and after a while they returned to the bushes.
Yes, there is a saying. I know some of us who come from villages, we have village proverbs. They said, the fact that a man is dead in a stream does not mean that the community should not fetch water from that stream for domestic purposes. Yes, some people surrendered, and at the point, their surrendering was really questionable, but not all of them. And therefore, we cannot therefore say all of them who surrendered are bad. And some of them are also providing very critical and necessary information. Some are used, even in a police cell under any division, DPO, you go there, there are some detainees who indeed police use to get information. And so when they surrender, and I believe so, these commanders who are with government, by the time you get some clerics, they sit down with them and discuss, you see that some will stop what you call extremism. I mean, we've seen it happen before, where some people with very high extreme positions will always mellow down and say they were misled. Because people have now given them the real perspective. You now have the real religion given unto them, where they said human life is precious. Tell me the religion that will say, go and catch women and kill them, catch babies and kill them. Look at somebody, a testimony, they are saying, my father was killed because he was unable to run. When there was this Zakibiam crisis, I went to Victor Malu's house. The uncle, I mean, very old man who could not move anywhere. That man, I'm sorry to use the term, he was roasted inside his house. Even he couldn't move, he was begging. You know, I went there. So when humanity is just thrown to the dustbin, I think that it is the worst of the worst when it comes to humanity.
Okay, I want us to talk about, other issues now. Slightly move away from, the issues of insecurity. This time I'm talking about economy. The Russian-Ukraine war, that's what we're seeing on Blueprint newspaper. It says that Buhari is seeking review of the 2022 fiscal framework and that he wants oil benchmark raised to $73 to a barrel. Of course, perhaps that's because of the increase in the global price of the crude oil. And then you have another rider saying increases subsidy to 4 trillion naira, demands additional 182.5 billion for police, and then it reserves decline to $39.5 billion in March 2022. Europe, Asia economies to shrink by 4.1% over the war. And then you have Nigeria's oil supply to Asia drops. India hits towards Russia. So apparently there are gains that Nigeria is supposed to have benefited from this Russia-Ukraine war, but unfortunately we won't be able to do so, because when you are increasing the oil benchmark to $73 to a barrel, and at the same time you are increasing the oil subsidy to 4 trillion naira, then it's like you are giving with this hand and taking with the other hand. So where does that leave us? And whether or not we can be able to achieve, this provision for 182 billion naira for the police?
Well, just 2 days ago, EU ambassadors in Nigeria had to meet with NNPC management. They said, look, we want gas supply to Europe from Nigeria. Well, the war is a bad thing. People are dying in Russia, Ukraine, in Ukraine in particular, because the war is in Ukraine, not in Russia.
Not in Russia.
They have taken it to Ukraine. Ukraine is not fighting a war, You see, Dangote warned us, Nigerians, if you have corn, maize, grains, please don't rush to sell, according to him. Because global supply of wheat and some of these they come from Ukraine, Russia. So Nigeria to imports. The ones you have, don't go quickly exporting. Consume at home, return for your family. That's a businessman talking. He again warned, even as he was commissioning his largest fertilizer company, said, look, the ingredients for making fertilizer for his company, most of it comes from Ukraine and Russia. Now they are at war. How is he going to get all of this? Meanwhile, European countries have placed orders for this fertilizer from Nigeria. And so you can see that, yes, Dangote can make it somehow, but when it comes to government, with all this intention to spend this kind of money, and you look at income, government is about incoming, inflow of money, and expenditure, income and expenditure. Government is not making profit, so to speak. And so in doing all of this, where are the sources of this money? Globally, the oil prices, they're going down. India is rather going to Russia instead of coming to us. And so if some of these countries are going that way, then let us pay attention to this gas. Since Russia is trying to hold sanctions, and they are also saying, look, we should have some other sources. America is there, Nigeria is there. And if Nigeria is there, to Europe, Nigeria exports about 40% so far of its gas. That is huge money. They are ready to up it, maybe 60%. If it is so, let it be. Go to the Niger Delta area and see the gas flaring. What globally is needed, what we need in our homes, it's just been burned continuously. I mean, we are just wasting it. Why is it that we can't just have this art, this ability, this capability to have this liquefied natural gas for use at home and export? And this is where we can make money. Like we said last week, fishing in troubled waters. If the situation has gone bad, you see that in a bad situation, some people make the money. Nigeria can gain from this war. But unfortunately, I think some people are not seeing the way some other people are seeing it.
All right. Well, thank you so much. We'll end the discussion at this point. We appreciate your coming and sharing your perspectives with us this morning. Thank you for coming.
My pleasure once again. Thank you.
We'll see you again next week.
Stella, thank you.
All right. That was Ben Shemak, Director of Voice of Nigeria, giving us perspectives on the stories on our front pages this morning. Now, let's take a look at some more reports. Barely 2 weeks after terrorist attacked an Abuja-Kaduna bound train, killing and abducting passengers, relatives of the hostages taking have appealed to the federal government to negotiate with their abductors for the release of their loved ones. Take a look.
Representatives of the families say they have been in trying times since the abduction of their loved ones. They want the federal government to not only hear their plight, but to take concrete steps to address it.
From the videos that have gone viral, they insist that yes, government knows what they want, because in any ground that you go, you expected that yes, you'll be expecting call for ransom. But since it's not coming 2 weeks after today, then we are praying and we believe that government can be able to come in and come to our rescue.
But the hope now is that from what we saw in the video, they are saying very categorically that their interest is to discuss with government. So we are here to appeal to government to open discussions with them. They can reach compromise.
She called, or they let her call just once to say that she is okay, but definitely she is with them, and since then we have not heard anything.
Today you are here.
They allege that the government has left them on their own without any vital information or communication, and called for a dialogue between the federal government and the terrorists to be initiated as part of efforts towards securing the release of their family members.
What is the state, what is the condition of their staying there? Nothing of comfort. They are sleeping in the bush, on the bare grounds. Their lives are being endangered to things that you can never imagine.
Even the United States of America sometimes do enter negotiations, do enter discussions with terror groups, to protect the interests of our citizens. So it is not out of place if government discusses with them. We don't know what they want, but when government discusses with them, they will know. They will fulfill the ones they can fulfill. It's a compromise. It doesn't mean that whatever they ask government must do. But let them start talking with them.
We expected that the government would communicate or contact the families to let us know, at least allay our fears that something is being done about this happening or this incident. But nothing has been heard. So we don't know anything. Nobody contacted us. It's just silence. We don't know what is happening. And it's clearly, it seems clear that these abductors have the grudge with the government. It's not between them and us. We are ready to do anything within our powers, whatever it takes to secure and bring back our family members.
It is exactly 2 weeks since the attack on the Abuja-Kaduna train that left some dead, others injured and scores abducted. Families of those abducted continue to hope against hope that their loved ones will come back alive. Fatima Salaladen, Trust TV News, Kaduna.
Well, quite a horrific experience. It can only be imagined, what those families are going through right now, the trauma that they have to deal with, as a result of this experience. I mean, how would they even eat? How would they go to sleep?
A lot
knowing
of
that
Nigerians
one
at
of
the
them
moment,
is out there in the hands of some criminal.
And I was just thinking while listening to that report, a lot of Nigerians right now are battling with their economies, how to eat, how to do the basic things, and then they have to also think of money for ransom.
It's really sad. Well, let's get more perspectives on this, and we have a security expert joining us virtually, Tanko Ahmed, and he's going to be talking to us some more about this. Thank you for joining us, Tanko, and welcome to Daybreak.
Thank you very much. Good morning.
Welcome. Well, I mean, it's one attack too many, isn't it? It's either, we are talking about Abuja Kaduna train attack, or we are talking about attack on Kanam Wase local governments in Plateau State. And it's really quite sad, isn't it? What are your reactions, initial reactions to these attacks? I mean, we've heard a lot of rhetorics, we've heard a lot of government statements, we've heard a lot of, cliches about, investigations are ongoing, troops have been deployed, and the rest of them. But Nigerians are just sick of hearing all of these things. We just want to see action, isn't it? Are we doing enough to match the kind of realities that we're dealing with now?
Yeah, I can start off by saying that those in charge of security and responses to what's going on are doing enough. But generally, we will have to adjust our understanding of this kind of crime, we call terrorism crime. We just came out of crisis of COVID-19. I would like to try to understand terrorism as a pandemic crime. You see how COVID-19 came in, it swamped everybody like terrorism across the world. It came in here, we did not have good hospitals, they said. We did not have enough equipment, like the way fighting terrorism, now people are saying that you should buy a lot of cameras and put all over the place. If we understand terrorism or this kind of violent crime in terms of a disaster, and we compare it with COVID-19, the answer here or the approach should be everything that is being done by government, by agencies, should be people-oriented. It could be the same group of people that did the attack on the train now will move down to Kanam. Kanam is a very, very peaceful area. Out of the crisis of Plateau, nothing had happened there. Very, very peaceful area, but it is an area that is also blazed with what the terrorists has carted away. Rams, cattle that are being bred for the oncoming Salah. People don't know about this because our own frame of thinking will never bring us to try to sort out where are these people coming from, where are they going to hit, and for what purpose, and what is their own profile. We have gone through this over and over again to the extent that by now, we should have at least a clear profile of what these bandits or terrorists are. The way we had the profile of COVID-19. And then we bring out something very, very simple, like use of mask in fighting the disease, social distance, and cleanliness. In this case, we should be told about
Tanko,
how to identify.
If I may interject a bit now.
Yes.
You are likening this terrorism and insurgency to COVID-19. This
it's pandemic in nature.
Been dealing with. Yeah, it's a pandemic, agreed. But we've been dealing with this very pandemic for more than 10 years now. In all these 10 years, we've not been able to have intelligence. We've not been able to have information that will help us curb this pandemic? I mean, COVID-19 came in 2020, and this is 2022, and you could see that a lot of successes have been recorded in terms of dealing with this very pandemic. But with the pandemic of the terrorism, it has proven so difficult in finding the vaccine for this very pandemic, isn't it? Why is it so? Like, why is it so difficult? In terms of intelligence gathering, what are we missing out? What don't we understand about this insurgency yet? I mean, we've seen them spread from the northeast to the northwest now. And we have intelligence agencies, right? And they are supposed to be getting information in terms of trying to decipher and understand the kind of warfare that we're dealing with. So is 10 years not long enough to be able to come up with things that can help us curb this very pandemic?
Well, thank you very much. Intelligence officers are not magicians. Intelligence officers have been working the way everybody has been working in their offices and other things. When you collect intelligence, what kind of people or what kind of report do you forward? No matter how good the report is, it depends on somebody to take decision and use it. So at the end of the day, why I am insisting on this pandemic approach is that once you drop in people into the equation, it's the people now that are the victims, and it is widespread, either on land or among the population. Therefore, the pandemic nature of it, which I would like to approach here. If there is intelligence and people are told how to use intelligence, they don't need to wait for that intelligence to reach up and then comes down. The only thing that will reach up there and be applied is intelligence for operation. There were cases like this in the past. We have military officers that have retired military officers that have conducted this kind of operations in the past, either in Nigeria or in Liberia or other things. Very, very fantastic way of doing it. But at the end of the day, when you see, of course, they have the military skill to do this job. At the end of the day, what they did that is different from now is that they were people-oriented. I will give you an example with some years back. One of our senior officers, General Temlong, conducted the groundwork of pushing the Chadians out of Maiduguri area, Borno area now, or the present Sambisa, back to Chad. What they do is that when they move, they rebuild communities. Then they bring in police to take charge of the communities. They move over again. But today, what kind of things do you have here, especially under democratic dispensation, where people would think they would just sit down in their houses and decide what other people do? So the problem here now is the public opinion. Public opinion has proven to be toxic enough to confuse people. They don't know what they are doing. They don't know what to expect. We do not have common resolve. So in that case, the confusion would start where the action takes place.
Okay, Tanko,
Yes.
these families, they are asking governments to negotiate with the bandits or whoever it is that abducted their relatives. As a security expert, what do you say to that?
Well, where would they go? I'm sure the first thing would be for them to pray. After they pray, they will go to government. Everybody will go to government. If this happens to be maybe a flooded river, they will still go to government. And right now, as they are asking government to negotiate with the people, government has retinue of agencies. It has retinue of professionals who are trained, who are engaged, who are paid, who are provided with the means to do this work. The government does not need to make it public immediately. And public opinion should be in support of the process of solving this thing between the victims and the government. But what you hear overwhelmingly are political statements.
Tanko, you talk about, you talk about public opinion and you talk about public support. How can there be public support and trust when there is no transparency? I mean, we heard from one of the family members that is saying that they have not been communicated to by even government. Now, we're not talking about government making their steps or what the moves that they are making public, but at least for the family members of the victims, they should be able to know what is happening as far as rescuing, their wards and their relatives and their family members. So how do you, get public support when there's no transparency, when people cannot have confidence in what you are doing? I mean, you say one thing and we see a different thing. We've seen a lot of statements from government condemning the attacks, but it doesn't look like the government itself is any different from the people, like the ordinary citizens. So how do you have, public support in that sense?
Well, without running the risk of sounding as if I'm not sympathetic with the relations, we know, we heard, and we have seen in various channels that the government, the governor of Kaduna State, government officials, the IG, they have been to the place. They can't go there without having access to the people. Now, what is contact with government, between government and these people? Do they want the president or the IG or somebody to get in contact with them? There are a lot of things also the government can fetch from what we are doing, what we are saying in all these channels. That is one of the importance of the media.
The IG
contact
the IG
government
and
talking to these people.
The IG and the Chief of Defense Staff and some of the top government officials that went to Kaduna went to the scene of the attack, right? They went to the scene of the attack. Even
and they were doing something about it. Yes.
Some of them visited the hospitals where these victims were. Fine and good.
Yeah.
But we have heard stories of how the victims have to even pay for medical treatments in the hospital, even after instructions or orders were given by the deputy governor of Kaduna State that their treatments should be taken care of by government. But monies were requested, for certain things, for X-ray or something, from the victims of that attack. So if you have that kind of a thing happening, how does someone having that experience have confidence, on the government and that it is doing, very serious, it is taking very serious steps to ensure that, their family members are rescued and that further occurrences do not occur?
In all disasters, whether it is disease, whether it is security issue, there is no disaster response that is flawless. Yes, if the government has given order that medicine or other treatments are free, and maybe one or two people are asked, there is also a channel where if they pay, they must pay them back. And now you are bringing me back to the relationship between government and the people. Public opinion is the one that is pushing the people to think in a particular way. To some extent also, public opinion also influences government decision. If these public opinions are devoid of toxic approaches, yes, madam.
This public opinion is based on their experiences, what they are seeing and what is happening to them. Is it possible that their public opinion will be different, or general public opinion will be different from exactly what is happening, what is on ground? Public opinion, I want to believe, is shaped by things that are happening.
Well, yeah, things that are happening, including what me and you are doing here now. When I say public opinion, I'm trying to capture the way people would think and the way government would behave in such a way that they work together. Let me still go back to this COVID-19 example that I'm giving. I like to give that because this is something that we had experienced. Everybody was involved in it. Public opinion was involved in it from the beginning. We believed that everybody would just drop and die on the streets. And we believe that Nigerian doctors, Nigerian Ministry of Health and other things were not able to do that. That is, if you compare it to what is happening now. But at the end of the day, just 3 items. Cover your nose, wash your hand, keep your distance, and then we chase the COVID away. So now, I am suggesting that let's profile protocol of kidnapping. Let's profile protocol of sudden attack on communities. Let's educate the general public, everybody. We talked about intelligence before from Kanam.
Okay, I understand.
I knew that people saw some strange faces before they were attacked.
Madam Tanko, I understand the angle
Dr.
of where you
Tanko
are coming
Ahmed,
from.
yeah.
You are coming
Dr.
from the
Tanko
angle
Ahmed,
of,
yes.
Yeah, you are coming from the angle of the fact that the insecurity is it's a fight for everyone, isn't it? It's something that
of course.
There has to be a holistic approach, and that people have to
Yeah.
play a part in this, right? But
Yeah.
again, we are talking about people who have been betrayed time and time again. We are talking about security officials that sometimes really do not take seriously even when information is being provided. You see, responses to intelligence information, or someone gives an information, even residents sometimes. I mean, for the train attack, for instance, there have several reports that said there were reports, pointing to the fact that this could happen, and nothing was done. In the case of Kanam, we just spoke with our correspondent who said, well, one of the local government chairmen, since last year, have raised an
9
alarm
months
that
earlier.
there's a possible attack, in that location. So, when you talk about the role of members of the public, what are the members of the public supposed to do in this instance? One of the reasons why people are not carrying arms is because there is a government in place, and that government is supposed to have the monopoly, of force, on anyone. But it doesn't look like such right now. So if the government cannot protect the people, what are the people supposed to do? If providing information, for government sometimes that even backfires, what are the people supposed to do?
Well, let me start. I just mentioned something about toxic opinions. The words, when you are bringing in this idea, you use the word betrayed. For us to sit down here in public, in the media, to use the word betrayal in an issue discussed between government and the people, this is toxic. I would not like to use the word betrayal. If there is disappointment, or if there is slow motion in response
Tanko,
and other
how do you
things.
describe a situation where someone volunteers and provide information for security officials, and then from within the security officials, somehow that person is now being receiving the backlash, and it backfires? How do you explain that? How do you describe that?
Well, I would describe it as a normal thing that takes place whenever there is human affairs, this kind of loopholes. And I mentioned to you before, there is nothing that is flawless, including the use of intelligence. And I mentioned to you here, before I started discussing about intelligence, intelligence officers are not magicians. These things take place. But the main problem now is when you come to apply this.
Dr.
Yes,
Tanko,
madam.
please,
Yeah.
you're saying very important issues. You're talking about very important issues here. So let's just hold your thought. We'll take a break now. When we return, the
I will.
continues.
I will. Thank you.
So we'll take a short breather. When we come back, Daybreak on Trust Television continues. Please stay.
right, thank you for staying. And if you're just joining, you're watching Daybreak, reaching you live from the nation's capital in Abuja. For those who are just joining us, let's have a look at the headlines today. District head shot dead inside Taraba Mosque.
Police raid illicit drug factory in Bayelsa, nab for suspects.
And the perpetrators of plateau killings must not be spared, and that's according to the president.
Now the news in details. Government have attacked a mosque at Mesamari town in Sardauna local government area of Taraba State, killing Alhaji Abdulkadir Mesamari, a district head. According to witnesses, Mesamari was killed during congregational prayers on Monday night. The gunmen reportedly opened fire immediately they stormed the mosque. Residents were said to have confronted the gunmen, forcing them to flee into a mountain close to the town. A resident, Musa Sali, told Daily Trust that some courageous persons confronted the gunmen who forcefully fled.
All right, President Muhammadu Buhari has said that the perpetrators of the brutal terrorist attacks in Kanam and Wase communities in Plateau State should not get no mercy and not be allowed to escape justice. The president, in a statement issued Tuesday by his media aide Garba Shehu, described the killings as heinous. The Buhari, who directed that they should not be spared or forgiven, also ordered law enforcement agencies to work strenuously with the government of the state to bring the situation under control and take steps to bring the culprits to justice quickly. The president expressed condolences over the terrorist incident, saying as a matter of priority, peace must return at all costs to the state and the entire country. The statement follows the mass burial of victims of Sunday morning attacks on 4 communities in Plateau State by bandits. And now let's return back to our guest who is standing by, a security expert, Tanko Ahmed. Dr. Tanko Ahmed, who was giving us, perspectives on some of these issues. So, Doctor, if you are still there, well, we were talking about, issues of, lack of trust and lack of confidence, in the, responses of government as we deal with, the issues of insecurity in the country. Now, I agree with you that there is need for a holistic approach to this. Everyone has a responsibility. But what do you do when you provide information and it is, just, swept under the carpet or it is not taken seriously? Even government agencies provide intelligence information about attacks and nothing happens, not to talk of ordinary citizens.
I know any case that is proven or taken out in its own merit, it's always attended to. If there are cases of leakage, you take the leakage, even some policemen or security agencies collecting money on the road, while somebody takes them on video, they get dismissed. There are cases like that. And there is no way we can run this thing flawless. That is what I've been saying. But then when things occur like this, like for example, what I got from the news outline you just mentioned, the president has already ordered that actions must be taken. And most of the time,
Dr. Tanko, we've had all of that. We've had all those orders before. It's our responsibility as media to always put out those statements, as they come. But doesn't mean that we are seeing results from these statements. I mean,
well, if we are not seeing results, we keep on demanding for the results.
A couple of years before now, the president gave a directive that anyone caught, and the president has continued with that statement, that anyone caught with an AK-47 rifle unlicensed or unauthorized, the person should be shot at sight. The president said that. But it looks like, we've seen people with these rifles and no one is looking. It looks like people are sleeping.
I can assure you, anywhere any operative sees somebody with that gun since the time of the presidential directive, anywhere they saw them, they shot them.
So how is it that these attacks have continued?
You can see them maybe inside a video that they tape themselves and start spreading it around.
But
you can see it like that.
How is it that this
attack them?
you know,
they do kill them. They kill hundreds of them daily.
Dr. Tanko, how is it that these attacks have continued unabated?
They continue because the causes of this thing continue to, it's just like a farm. You put in something, if you don't remove the weed completely, when you remove from one place, it will spread. So it is generally, I'm still coming back to this issue of holistic approach. I'm not a typical academician that will give you a, yes.
Dr. Tanko.
Yes, madam, I can hear you.
Dr. Tanko, you mentioned something. You said it keeps coming back because it hasn't been dealt with from the root.
Like weeding, yes.
Again, these bandits also said in one of their videos that the government knows what it is that they want.
At the end of the day, they say they want some of their prisoners to be, some of their people to be released from prison. We had that.
Okay.
Everybody had that.
I'm saying that you said that it keeps coming back because it hasn't been taken out from the root. What is stopping our security operatives from taking it out from the root?
We can only uproot this when we mobilize and put people in the whole process. Security service, like any other service that government provides, must be people-based. People-based in resources, people-based in results. There are places where this kind of thing have been happening before, but now they have ebbed down. There are places where if you ask bandits to go, they will not go there because the communities are well organized. They will recognize you before you come in. They will deal with you while you are there. If they can't, if you go away, they will chase you until the end of the world or end of time. I don't see any reason why this kind of thing cannot be profiled, injected into the public, and then I'm assuring you we can end up having breakfast with the head of bandits in this Nigeria.
Okay, Doctor, can you share with us what some of those communities you talked about now, where bandits wouldn't want to go? Can you share with us, you know, what it is that they do differently, you know, so that other communities can also learn from these things?
Yeah, they are organized. They are organized enough to link up with security agencies around their own area. I will give you an example of simple crimes. In Bukuru, I stay in an area where they break into houses. We organize our youth. Wait, I'm giving you example. Let me give you example. I like to give example.
We are not talking about petty crimes. We are talking about
No, I will give you example of petty crime and then the larger one.
People sacking communities in hundreds.
It starts from petty crimes. This society, these communities where they are organized, fathers turn out their own children that are involved in terrorism. There are communities that are as organized as that. For example, somewhere in BU, a father will hand over his own son to the authorities if he suspects him to be a terrorist. But this kind of thing are not carried along because they are not dramatic. You know, even beyond the media itself, there are agencies like National Orientation Agency. There are ministries. There are people of goodwill. Let's profile all these things about terrorists. Let's feed it into the public, through public opinion. If you do that, Nigerians, we are so active that if you can profile terrorists or bandits and push it into our heads and the way to deal with them, I'm telling you, within small time, people in conjunction with security agencies, they can eat up bandits.
Dr. Tanko, there's very little that members of the public can do in some of these instances. When you are
let's start co-opting them inside.
When you are confronted with people that are well armed, perhaps sometimes maybe even more armed than our security personnel.
When we were confronted by a disease, a germ that would just fly through the air and kill a whole town.
Okay, if I may, you know, there's very little that people can do. Trust me, no one would like to be ransacked from his home. No one would
we
love
can
to
start
see his
trying
own
to get
family
people to do more.
being killed,
we can
and
start
there's
that.
nothing he can do about it, right? People will ordinarily want to do something when they are going to be attacked. But I am talking about instances where people organize themselves. We have vigilante groups, you know, that sometimes do not enjoy as much collaboration, you know, from the security forces. Like now, let me give you an instance with the Abuja Kaduna train attack, right? Now, that attack happened until about 2 hours before we saw the troops, come to the scene of that attack. How would you explain, why that is happening? And from what we know, information got to the security forces not even directly from the railway corporation. It's from the third party. It's from among victims that were inside the train. Some of them who have numbers and contacts of police officers or also some security officials. They were the ones making the calls. So is there no breach there? Is there no gap there that needs to be breached?
Well, I will call it a gap in time of response. We don't know where this security personnel responded to, but then if they respond, they will come as fast as the means of transport they have. But first line of response were the policemen that were mounted inside the train. A lot of people that came out attested that the policemen tried their best. They fought until they ran out of bullets. That is also part of the larger security security of the country. Is the larger part of the police. Yes, Madam.
Dr. Tanko, as I listen to you, I keep pondering though. Whenever there's an intelligence report, it comes to the security operatives. And then oftentimes we get to hear that the security operatives failed to act, and then these bandits will come at night and ransack communities. What can
Not all the time. Not all the time.
So
what we will do here now, we should concentrate on improving that particular security outfit. It's a problem that kept on coming. That is why I completely started by wholesome approach, and I use the word pandemic. When it comes out in one place, you go and deal with it. And also people should be able to... Yes.
Dr. Tanko, I agree that our security officials are doing their best, right?
Yeah, but it's not all of them that leak out names.
But their best is just not good enough from what we are seeing.
Well, I would say that their best, I would say their best is not enough.
Their best is only good enough for reactive measures. We want a proactive security system where before attacks happen, it is being stopped from happening. That's what we are talking about. How can we improve the system in such a way that we do not wait until when attacks happen and then we now go there and then now begin to, go around and do things that I cannot even understand. That's what we want, not something that, not that we'll continue to see reoccurrence of attacks and it looks like people are helpless. That's what we are talking about. How can we improve the system?
That is the ideal situation. I like it the way you tidy it now. I would tell you very short and simple. The only way to improve the system is to make the people and the security agencies work together. It is not only the work of the people, on the other hand, it's not only the work of the security agencies, it is the work of everybody to try and work together, not only on security, but also the root causes of why these insecurities come. I use the example of within a group. You attack the root causes.
For people and the security agencies to work together, there has to be some kind of level of confidence and trust. We
have agencies that build confidence.
We have had situations where people in villages and communities are even more afraid of the bandits,
Yeah, of course.
And than having security forces in those places, because there is absence of security agencies in those places. If anything happens, the security agencies are not there to protect the people.
We do not have enough personnel.
So what I'm saying is that how can you restore confidence in people, in communities, in villages, in such a way that they are not afraid of sharing information with security forces, in such a way that they are confident when they provide information, they will definitely see an action?
Yes. So how to bring back confidence is to yes.
Dr. Tanko, as a follow-up to that, we have had reports where people have gone to the police station, volunteered information, and in the night, the bandits came straight for their homes, which therefore means that the information they gave to the police was leaked out.
Yeah. But then also in the same vein, we always hear about reports where policemen actually investigate cases and arrest criminals. So these are clashing reports that when you put it into the relationship between people and the government, it will require some kind of coordination. It will require some kind of review of relationship. So if the relationship between government and the people is improved, all this kind of thing will
How
be.
can we restore the confidence, Dr. Tanko? How
We
can
can restore the confidence.
of
We
people?
already have agencies in place. We have people like you in the media. We the media can really contribute a lot. You can go out of your way now and start demanding for profile of terrorists, so that now these people, all the people will be informed in such a way that they will know a terrorist when they see one. Then people will convert there. Yes. I think we have a lot of work to do, including you.
Doctor,
Yes.
the media is playing its part, but like I said,
yeah, it's playing its part. The way we are talking now, yes.
If the government does not take seriously reports from its own fellow, sister agencies that are supposed to be working together, what's the guarantee that I have that whatever
the only
information
guarantee is to go back to the platform of people. Yes, the only guarantee is to go back to the platform of people, the media, the security, the government, and everybody. We go back to the platform of people. That is where even the purpose of government is. That's the purpose of what media is. That's the purpose of all this, if I can call it katakata, because there is no word to fit this thing other than katakata, because it is all over the place. It's pandemic. So we must go back to the platform of people. That is where we will redesign. That is where we will act. And that is where the media really will be a leading force, including other agencies. Like what you are saying about the police and the intelligence and other things, when you see it, expose it until the time when action is taken. And I would love to see a situation whereby people will start engaging government services at point of delivery. If you are supposed to deliver this service to me, you have not delivered, and I know that you are the agent the government has employed, you are being paid, you are being housed, it is your duty to do it, I'll go to you first.
Well, Doctor, you still haven't convinced,
you are not convinced, but I am telling you about my conviction.
What I'm very particular is about how to rebuild confidence, how to rebuild public trust in security, such that people are comfortable sharing information, such that people are sure that when they provide information, they will get the response as at the time that it needs to come. That's very important in talking about this.
It's very important. I have been agreeing with you throughout the conversation. I am agreeing with you. But I'm telling you now that you have been trying government side. It is not working as good as it should be. Try people,
what can the people do?
You try, okay. Then also you try
what can
government people corner. Yes, there is no escape. We must get government to work along with the people. Generally, I've been saying it. Government, yes.
Dr. Tanko, the government has a constitutional duty to protect the people. I agree with you that. I agree with you that security, everybody needs to come together. But it is first and foremost the duty of the government.
So the government, I'm also saying that government should also strive to connect its own services with the people. If you don't do this, nothing will work. Or if you do it, whatever you are doing will get improved. So now let me come back to some specific examples. What is happening to the community policing? If community policing is in place, the DPO of everywhere will be able to weed out terrorists before they even grow to be one. Yes, there are a lot of things we have on the ground. Also, when I will advise that the media should also pursue why is it that this community policing is not taking place. Why is it that if everybody is recognized in policing, These people that leak information, the villagers will catch them.
Well, I mean, the people catching them, the people do not have the responsibility of disciplining or prosecuting
we have
security
responsibility
officials
for everything
who are
in this
leaking
case
information,
now.
do they? I mean, at the end of the day, the bulk of the job is on the table of government, Dr. Tanko.
Yes.
We can talk about citizen participation and the role of citizens in providing information from now till the cows come home. At the end of the day, if information is provided and someone is not taking action on that information, it becomes, the whole effort becomes fruitless. So at the end of the day, we need to, have some kind of confidence. I mean, the people need to have some kind of confidence, on the security officials to even collaborate. And that's very important here, right? And what we are saying is that how can we rebuild that confidence?
We can only rebuild this confidence through improved communication between the people and the government. Communication that will direct decision making. Communication that will influence and correct strategy. Communication that will improve on operation. Communication that will improve on how it perceives the people and how the people perceive the government. I think I will settle in this issue of communication because this is what we are all talking about. There must be improved communication in the way we live, in the way we operate, in the way we respond, in the way we do almost everything. Because there is government and there are people.
All right, thank you so much.
You are
Dr.
the media.
Ahmed,
we are standing on your platform. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you so much, Dr. Tanko Ahmed. We appreciate your time on the program.
Thank you very much.
To having you.
Yeah, I'm pleased to be with you. Thank you very much.
Yeah. All right, now we will take a short breather, and then when we come back, the show will continue. Please stay with us.
To every politician, as the campaigns gain momentum and passions begin to rise, remember, the errors of your opponents do not make you a success. Do not run down your opponent and inflame passions to violence between and among your supporters. What counts is what you plan to do for the electorate and how you intend to relieve the sufferings and bring succor. Nigeria is in dire need of patriotic leaders at all levels, leaders who will make national development their priority. Concentrate on telling the electorate what you intend to do when you get into office. Focus on making your vision clear to the electorate. Don't engage in verbal abuses, fake news or speeches. Keep dealing with issues that will bring progress. You win the hearts and minds of the people by being above board, by being civil, patriotic, and showing empathy. Let's join hands to make the 2023 elections peaceful. A message from the National Orientation Agency.
All right, thank you for staying. And if you are just joining, you're watching Daybreak, reaching you live from the nation's capital in Abuja. Now, going to the next discussion on the program. The Northern Elders Forum has demanded the immediate resignation of President Muhammadu Buhari over the raging killings across the country, especially in the north. The Director, Publicity and Advocacy of the Northern Elders Forum, Dr. Hakeem Baba Ahmed, made the call on Tuesday. He said the forum made the recommendation with the highest sense of responsibility and expressed hope that there are enough Nigerians who enjoy the confidence of President Muhammadu Buhari to advise him to consider resigning. He lamented that killings and assaults on communities have now become daily features of lives of all Nigerians, as traveling anywhere is now risky and the option of staying put does not make anyone safer. He advised that politicians aspiring to lead the nation to weigh their capacities and commitments and also the challenges of leadership very carefully. The Northern Elders spokesperson said that leading Nigeria out of its current state and placing it firmly on the path of recovery is not an all-comers affair, and that Nigerians will exercise greater levels of discretion in deciding who they can trust in future. Now, Dr. Hakeem Baba Ahmed is live here with us in the studio to, give us, further, explanations on this statement and why it's coming at this time. Thank you for joining us on Daybreak this morning.
Thank you very much, and thanks for inviting me.
Yes. Well, I mean, this is not the first time, apparently, that you are calling for the resignation of the president. But, I mean, have we gotten to that point yet, looking at the fact that quite a number of issues really have been, or I would say a number of steps have been taken, by the administration to deal with this in terms of specifically procurement of military hardware?
So procurements are meant to achieve results. What are the results? We're making a comment in the context of the absence of anything substantial that the president can do, has done, or will do that is not constitution the way we live. People say, oh, he's buying weapons for the military, he's spending money on procurement. No president has spent so much money on procurement. But we're judging by results. The results are that Nigerians have never been more insecure. We see a leadership that appears to have resigned itself to allowing us to live at the mercy of killers and bandits and rapists. We see no effort to introduce anything new or different. The situation is getting worse by the day. We have a whole year to go under the leadership of President Buhari. Is this how we're going to live? Do we know how bad it will get? I wonder. We speak to a lot of people. It took a long time before we said this.
But resigning at this point, what difference will it make, really? If anything, it may just even take us back, because if the president resigns now, it looks like we're in the middle of a crisis right now. So, issues of handing over to the next person is also entirely a different thing that may take a whole lot. And if you talk about changing of leadership of the military now, the military chiefs, for instance.
Nobody is talking about the military.
That's true. It's also entirely a long process.
No, that's not. The military doesn't feature in this issue at all. First, let me remind you, we have a constitution.
I mean, if the president resigns and we do not have a new leadership
let's start from there.
Of the military,
what
difference will it make?
Let's start from there. The constitution says there shall be a president and a vice president. It also specifies grounds and conditions under which either one of them can leave. Resignation is one of them. If the president leaves, there's a vice president. Now, if you want to ask whether a vice president who has served under the president will do better than the president, that's a different issue entirely. But the military doesn't come into this picture at all. We are not recommending anything to do with the military. What we're saying is activate the constitutional provision that says when a president who has sworn to protect and defend Nigerians fails to do that, and every chance is made available to him to do so, and he fails to do that, and there's no indication that he's going to do that, and citizens are crying, what we're saying is what 90% of Nigerians are saying. They're saying it individually. This is the first time, perhaps, or the second time, a group like ours comes out and says, "Let's look, with all sincerity and whole sense of responsibility, Mr. President, you are not able, for one reason or the other, to secure Nigerians. Please, please, the Constitution that gave you the power also gives you a way to leave the leadership so that Nigerians can begin to find a solution."
Dr. Ahmed, it looks like the problem that we are dealing with is beyond an individual, is beyond a personality, is beyond a person. It looks like we have a systemic problem. Because, I mean, no matter how interested or committed a person is, you know, and it doesn't have a system that works, he may eventually become redundant as well. So, what are we talking about?
So,
Shouldn't we be looking at the system instead?
Systems are made up of human beings. The democratic system is a system. It's made up of people, institutions, laws, and regulations. Each one of them has specified functions to perform. So a system, the democratic system, is led by an individual. He is the one person everybody looks up to. He has to be voted by a nation, and he has a specific mandate and a trust. The mandate is to govern. The trust is that he will govern well. If he fails to govern, and to govern well, he has no business being president. That's the system. So if you want to blame the system, that's an abstract thing. Systems are made of people. The President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria is the person who swore to protect Nigerians. He's not protecting Nigerians.
Dr. Ahmed, this administration will say that, and they have said it, that they have improved security in the Northeast, and that the task of securing Nigeria is a work in progress.
In the Northeast?
Yes, they said that it has improved.
There's a lot more of Nigeria than the Northeast.
The attacks by Boko Haram have reduced. So they're saying that the task of securing the entire country is a work in progress. What do you say to that?
It's not working. There's no progress. If there was, we know what it means to ask a president to stand down. We know. The people the people who make up the Northern Elders Forum are very senior, very responsible people. We know what it is. It's a huge, huge issue. If we and other Nigerians had seen evidence that we're fixing Northeast, and a bigger problem is not opening up in the North Central, Northwest, and North Central, and the rest of the country, we wouldn't say this. In fact, we would say we haven't spoken at all for the last 3 months, which is very unusual for the Northern Elders Forum. We have restrained ourselves. People have cried. The train issue, the killings 2 days ago, over 90 people died in 2 states. Every single day, Nigerians die. We're getting used to having people dead, and that is not acceptable. So if government says, "Oh, we're trying our best," the simple answer to that is your best is not good enough. And this is the good thing about the democratic process. If you cannot fix the security of the citizen, for him to travel, to make a living, to go where he wants in peace, to deal with the criminal, if you arrest him, prosecute him, if you have to fight him to death because he or she will not submit to prosecution, then fight them. All this money you say you are spending on hardware, and what is the result of that? If you put all these things together and they don't work, then clearly you have to challenge the government to prove that it is serious about security. If it doesn't secure citizens, that's the first job of the government. It fails to secure people.
All right.
More people, just 1 second, more people are more insecure have been more insecure under President Buhari than any other time or person in this country. Should we just fold our arms and say, well, they've done their best, let's continue dying until we have another president? We have a year to live under President Buhari. What we're saying is nothing more than what you and us say in private. This government is not working. Why does it sound so big an issue when, as a group, we say what ordinary citizens are saying?
Dr. Ahmed, the Northern Elders Forum is made up of very eminent personalities. People who, when they speak, people will listen to them.
Thank you.
As a group, what are you doing to maybe in the area of providing maybe advice to the president on the security issue, or even within the communities or amongst the people to see how this security issue can be tackled?
Well, we've done a lot. We have had a very long history with the president. We started very well with the president. We had access to him. We could say to him, we could say to people close to him, we think this is the way to go. We think this is, you should avoid. Let me remind you what you said. You said we are responsible people. And we are responsible people. Nobody will make a statement of this nature without contemplating what it means. To have come out to say this publicly, Mr. President, please step down. Suggest two things. One, this is the only avenue through which you can say this. And two, there's no other option. There's no other option. There's nothing that you see on the ground that suggests to you that things are going to change.
But I'm wondering if really there's no other option, and whether or not this option is the best that we have right now. Because if you look at, we are hearing, stories about moles within the security architecture that we have, where sometimes they leak information, they provide information, they seem to be collaborators with these terrorists. And when you hear things like that, and then troops are ambushed and killed and all of that, how do we tackle this?
How does the president attack? He's the chief security officer. This is a retired military general, He has fought a war. He has led a whole division. The president should give you the answer and not me. If there's a failure to secure citizens, the first port of call is the president. How come the military, civilians, ordinary people, I'm sorry, I don't mean you, but you are journalists, so maybe you know a little bit more than they. How is it that we citizens know that there are serious problems within our military, and the man who is supposed to fix that problem is not fixing it? Is that an excuse for him? Can a president who is the commander-in-chief of the armed forces say, there's nothing I can do, the military leaks secrets, there are moles, the military is collaboration with criminals. What do you do about it? What are you supposed to do? You have all the powers in the world to fix the problems within the military. The commanders have access to you, the service chiefs have access to you, you appointed them. If they fail, they can't keep secrets. If they can't impose discipline, do something about them.
With all the powers that the president has, others have spoken about the strategies that we are using to deal with this. There are analysts who have also said that, well, this warfare, it's an asymmetric warfare. It's not something that Nigeria has had to deal with in the past. And so there are fears of collateral damages. Sometimes there is this unwillingness to really go after the bandits, especially when they are within communities and within villages. And so there's this fear that, okay, if we go very heavy and maybe drop bombs on them, there will be collateral damages, innocent civilians will be killed in the process. Or sometimes you have situations where even in the camps, they have people that they have abducted. And so there's the fear that let's not just, rain that kind of heavy fire so that we don't lose, innocent people. What do you say to that?
You see, you do either of two things. One is to explore other ways of dealing with the issue without necessarily jeopardizing the victims or reducing the damage, the potential damage. The other one is to do exactly what he's doing now. I'm not going to do anything. My military can't fight, or my military is not willing to fight. My military doesn't know how to fight this war. My military, it is not a problem that has no solution. There is a solution. We are not suggesting that you can fix banditry and kidnapping overnight. But let's do something, let's see something being done. Let people in their villages stop dying. Look, quite possibly 20% or 25% of the villages in Katsina will not grow anything this year because they've been abandoned in Kaduna State, in Zamfara State, in Sokoto State. If we're talking about the Northwest, you're talking about almost a third of the population that is either running or living in IDP camps or living with relations. They won't farm.
Dr. Ahmed.
This is a crisis of monumental dimension. We're talking about millions of people. Don't you think if the president met the only real existential threat when he became president was Boko Haram and some remnants of militancy, because the president Eradua had dealt with that substantially. But look at where we are now. It's not just that people are dying on the interest of citizens. The people are dying simply because there's just nothing to protect them. Now, who do you go back to?
Dr. Ahmed.
Should we just blame the system? The system is an amorphous, abstract thing. System is made up of people. These people are led by leaders. Our leaders are not protecting us. The leader is one person, and he's the president. So when you defend us,
is it not unfair that everything is put on the president, like him as a person? Because I mean, government. There are different layers of government, isn't it? The states, the local governments, and there are leaders across board, across all of these tiers of government.
It's also his job to harness all these tiers. That's why we make only one individual commander-in-chief of the armed forces. Only one. Governors have responsibilities. The president is the commander-in-chief of the armed forces. If you need to harness, you just had some governors a few days ago say, we will bring in mercenaries, we'll do this, even within his ranks. And these are governors close to him, say, bring in mercenaries. This is the only way out. People are dying. We're tired of our people crying and dying for us. We are sorry. Governors said to the citizens of the country, we are sorry. Governors. Governors don't have military, they don't have police, but when they talk to you, they will tell you, we literally fund the operations of the military. So it gets back to your point. Where is all the money that goes into buying hardware going to? What should citizens blame? Blame governors or blame the president who is in control of the military? Who should we blame? Somebody has to be blamed. What you're saying is don't blame the president. It's a system, and it's a very difficult problem. So let's do nothing?
Actually, Dr. Ahmed, shortly before you came on, there was a security expert who was speaking to us, and he emphasized on the fact that fighting security is a general issue. Every Nigeria has a role to play, including the Northern Elders Forum. Yes. So, as the Northern Elders Forum, aside, you said you have engaged the president in the past, are there other things that you're planning to do while the president the government is doing its own part?
Doing things. Always. The problem is that on a number of issues relating to citizen security, state security, there is a limit to what citizens can do. I watched it, incidentally, while I was watching the Cameroon stream, I watched the gentleman who spoke. And this defense that, national security is everybody's responsibility. Yes, but the chief security officer should harness and create an environment where everybody does have a role to play. What do citizens do now? Short of the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, who else is involved directly in fighting security? And what is their role? Governors will tell you, we want to do something, but there's nothing to do. The traditional rulers have been kidnapped and taken away right under the noses of their people. Other members of society are busy running away to sit down and look for problems. What we don't want to accept, the way all these businesses of creating excuses, is we don't want to accept the fact that they've lost control of the security of the country. Now, it sounds horrible, and I assure you, believe me honestly, we will not say this if really this is not the case.
So does this now, brings forward the need for us to perhaps consider rejigging the architecture of the security? A lot of people have talked about state policing, right? And, I mean, we have community policing, but I don't know if that is effective enough to help, with all of this. So do you think that perhaps we need to look at the issues of state policing?
Absolutely. We need to do a lot of things. But the first thing we need to do is to identify those who are not working now. I'm talking about now, before we rejig. Rejigging, restructuring, revisiting the security architecture is a long-term project. It will take months or years to do this. It requires tinkering with the law, it requires consultations, it requires so many institutions that have to be involved. And we support it. And the president, incidentally, is against this idea. He's not alone. There are a number of Nigerians who think, don't touch the system. But the bottom line is, what do you do today? What do you do tomorrow? What do you say to the families of the people who have been abducted on the train? And they're somewhere up in the bush there, maybe sleeping in the rain. But you don't even know where their conditions are. that they should wait because it is possible that somebody might convince the president to reject the security of the country. They should, villagers who are dying in the hands of the president should wait because the president will be seen and the president will be convinced to reject the security of the country. There are long-term things that need to be done. Clearly, Nigeria needs to be revisited. The whole structure of the system has to be revisited. But it cannot be revisited in a situation where a president is just unwilling to explore anything new, and the president doesn't just seem to understand that the situation in which citizens live in this country is very, very serious and is very dire. And if you can't fix security, I repeat, if you cannot fix the security of the citizen, you have no business leading a country. And this is nothing to do with, we would say this to anybody. In 2014, 2015, the Northern Elders Forum was in the forefront of fighting to remove Jonathan and put President Buhari in power. Let me remind you about that. We worked very, very hard with President Buhari, and we thought removing Jonathan because we thought Jonathan was weak with security. We thought Jonathan was soft on Boko Haram. We thought he was. And we worked, and we were very happy to have worked and put Buhari in place. We thought Nigeria would be a lot more secure today.
So it looks like it's beyond the individual, like I said earlier.
No,
the problem.
A president is not an individual. A president is one Nigerian with immense powers to do many things. He has powers to rally around opinion. He has powers to rally around interests. He has power to plug leakages. He has powers to come up with solutions. He's not an ordinary citizen. That's why the Constitution makes him president and commander-in-chief of the armed forces. So don't reduce him to position of a citizen. We look up to him. Everybody in this country, whether you like him or not, whether he's APC or APC, you look up to him. He's the person that we all go to. Sir, we are dying.
Now, it looks like the only solution to this is decentralizing the security architecture, which you said, I mean, it's a long-term thing. From what we have right now, the architecture that we have right now, can it really do anything to change anything at all? Because it doesn't look like it can.
You said it can't, it cannot.
No,
I mean, the current structure, the status quo.
Oh, clearly.
It can.
I mean, look, you have a governor of a state.
So then what can we do to fast track, maybe, to look at
first of all,
decentralizing the security architecture?
That is why we gave one solution. And for us, it is to do with the person who can actually set this process in motion, both the short term and the long term. A president who is unwilling to recognize the magnitude of this problem and do something about it. That's why we began with the president. It's not that we don't like President Buhari, but we don't like the fact that he is leaving Nigerians in a lurch. If you have to do anything, it begins with the person. He has to agree to these things. Fix the military at least up to a point where it can actually become a fighting force befitting of Nigerians.
Right, Dr. Ahmed,
if you don't do this...
Yes, Dr. Ahmed, we know that the president is not going to resign because the Northern Elders Forum said he should. We know he is not going to. Now,
he told you that?
Now, I mean, he's not going to do that. We all know. I mean, this is not the first time that call is coming, But
well,
again,
we don't know that.
In any case, that's on the one hand. Now, there is a law. There are people, however, who the law or the Constitution has empowered to do that, to take the president out of office, which is the National Assembly.
No.
The National Assembly can
you're wrong
impeach
there.
the president.
The president can decide on his own to step down and cease to be president.
He can.
What if he decides not to do?
We know he wouldn't.
Again, that's his right.
I mean, he wouldn't do that.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And I'm saying that we have other
you
options.
know he wouldn't do that. Now, when you say we,
I mean,
I suppose you and your colleagues think so. We don't make this kind of statements as a joke.
Track records. We know that there are track records. We know that there are precedents.
Yes.
And going by those precedents,
yes,
it doesn't look like, that's what I said, it doesn't look like that he's going to do that, right?
We'll see.
Now, when we talk about, taking the president out, the Constitution empowers the lawmakers, the National Assembly,
not necessarily
to impeach the president.
I just informed you there are a number of ways in which the president can leave office. One of them is he voluntarily decides, I don't want to be president anymore. There may have been no president in this country, but other countries, presidents have resigned. That's one. The other one is he can get impeached. The third one, we pray that it doesn't happen, is that he dies in office. So the Constitution is elaborate in providing for ways in which the president, what we chose for us under the circumstances here is the easiest option. A president who swore to defend and protect the citizens of this country and fails to do that, and whatever his excuses, if the country is consistently exposed to insecurity, more and more citizens are dying, clearly he has lost the right to govern.
Dr. Ahmed,
yes.
I believe that the Northern Elders Forum is interested in seeing a solution to this problem.
Absolutely.
So if for whatever reason the president does not resign as it has called, is the Northern Elders Forum going to come up with maybe a list of the things it wants the president to do, or come up with any other thing that can act as that's because at the end of the day, I think everybody is looking for a solution to the problem.
Yes.
So it cannot be just one. So if the president does not resign, what is the Northern Elders Forum going to come up with?
We have done a very responsible thing. We have offered an opinion, which we think is a solution, or at least part of the solution. And we believe that Nigerians, we speak for Nigerians, millions and millions and millions, the vast majority of Nigerians, who cannot see a solution under the current circumstances. They are insecure, they are dying, they are under all sorts of threat. Because of failure of security, too many setbacks are suffering. The economy is suffering. We are imminently in phase of facing food shortage and hunger in this country, especially in the northern part of the country. And parts of the country are drifting apart, and that's all part of the national security.
All right, sorry, just quickly, because of time, I will interject here. In your statement, you also talked about, politicians eyeing the #1 seat, of the country. 2023 elections is, around the corner already, and we've heard drums that are being beaten everywhere. However, what should we be looking out for from people who are vying, for that office in terms of solutions to this issue of insecurity? What are we expecting from them?
We should expect people who should contest not because they want to be president or just want power, but because they have a strong commitment to use the power Nigerians will give them and the trust Nigerians will give them to actually fix the problem. We don't want people to be just like president. They just want to be president, but not to exercise the responsibilities of a president. That's the first thing. We want evidence that they are actually prepared to do that. They have the capacities, their background has prepared them to lead.
But how do we know that? That's seems to be a very difficult thing to do, isn't it?
No.
Because we thought that the president, being a former general, back then in 2015, has the capacity to do that.
So now we learn from him.
Obviously, it hasn't. So how do we know, people that can
inadvertently? One of the legacies that President Buhari will leave behind is that Nigerians will now be more critical in terms of analyzing anybody who comes up and says, "I want to be president." You want someone who is more than just honest, because that's how President Buhari came. He's tough on insecurity and he's honest on corruption, and both of them have proved spectacularly wrong. You want a person who is knowledgeable, who is honest, who is willing to go all the distance to protect the most helpless citizen in this country. We want somebody with a knowledge of the economy. We want someone who can actually go to every inch of Nigeria and work for every Nigerian and represent the interests of every Nigerian. We want somebody with the energy, with the health, with the disposition.
How do we identify that person?
They are being identified, madam. It's called the political process. Politicians are doing that.
Because they'll just come and talk to us and then we'll buy what they say. How do we know that?
Well, I can assure you, as I can speak for our group, what we say, and a lot of people come to us, a lot of the people who are aspiring come to us, and we tell them, we want to see three things. First of all, why do you want to be president? This time we would not fall into the trap of, say Baba, say Buhari. We want to know why you want to be president. If all you tell us is you want to be president, forget it. We won't ask the second question. Well, if we pass that, beyond that, then we would ask you, what do you plan to do? How prepared are you to lead? What have you done to prepare yourself to be president? What's your preparation for security, for economy, for joblessness, for the country drifting apart? And thirdly, who is your team? Who are you going to work with?
Okay.
Where are your people that you will transit from campaign to politics with? And we would accept any Nigerian who proves to us that he or she has learned the lessons from the last 7, 8 years, and he would actually provide a leadership that is different from the current leadership in the country. That's what we're looking for.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Hakeem Baba Ahmed, for coming on Daybreak this morning. We have to end the interview now because of time.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming.
You're welcome.
And that was Dr. Hakeem Baba Ahmed, the Publicity Secretary of the Northern Elders Forum. We are now ending the show. At this point, in case you've missed, you can always catch up on our YouTube channel and also subscribe to all our social media handles. My name is Ayuba Ilya. Thank you for watching.
Thank you for spending this part of your morning with us. And join us again, same time, same station tomorrow. My name is Stella Iyaji. Bye.